We're judging the world and seeing what sucks. We're reviews versus the world.
I was rewatching New York Minute because I put it on Netflix, right? And I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible. But the whole time I'm like, man, Mary-Kate really has always been the better actress. Ashley kind of sucks. I love you both, Olsen sisters, if you're ever listening. I hope you know that.
And welcome back! How long have we been recording?
Probably like
that entire time.
Oh my gosh.
That entire
Did you
time.
expect any less?
It's what I do, guys. You should know this by now.
Yeah, the second that it gets moved into the center of all of us, I assume it's going to get on, like, immediately. So.
Did it catch all that racist stuff that Steven said earlier?
Oh, not enough of it. I don't know, how am I supposed to respond to that? Oh, I'm not racist. I mean, everyone's a little bit racist. I've seen the musical. I know how it works.
Anywho's, how does it feel to be back, guys?
Well, good.
Seems like pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't been here since we talked Infinity War. I'm not sure. I think you guys have only had one episode in the meantime.
Yeah.
And I was like on one of those remotely, I think. So
Yeah.
I haven't been here since Infinity War either.
Yeah. Yeah, well, welcome back to my house.
Thanks.
Hi, Brady's house.
It's nice to be here with all of the Funko Pops.
You guys, there are so many of them. It's very fun.
My favorite's Rocket Raccoon over there. He's shorter than everything else.
He is, and he's so cute.
I like.
I should move Tom Nook over by Rocket Raccoon.
There you go.
Can't decide if I like Yondu or Ron Swanson.
I was going to say Ron Swanson's pretty...
Yeah, the Ron
Who's
Swanson
that
is
next
pretty
to
awesome.
Ron Swanson with the glasses?
That's Buster. Buster Bluth.
Buster Bluth. He's got the hook hand.
Oh, he does.
He's a
I didn't even
monster.
know.
From here,
that.
okay, yeah. Well, his hair's a different color. Anyway,
All right, so it has been a while. We will be getting back on the wagon, guys. You know, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it.
Oh,
You know, there's these
wagon?
things called cars now. So, I mean, if you want to get back in the wagon, it'll take us 3 days
Dude, I'm
to
going to
get
go,
here,
like, bareback horseback riding. I'm just going to make it a thing. Like, it's all good.
And on that note, let's talk about things that we've been into lately that might not be bareback.
I meant, like, the horse doesn't have a saddle, not I.
Yeah. Whatever, Vladimir Putin.
Whoa.
That's quite a name to be called. I reserve the right to frown at you for that at a later date.
typically you would call a lady Godiva as opposed to Putin.
Seriously?
It was right there and you missed it.
Godiva has better chocolate than Putin anyway.
Anyway, John, what have you been into lately?
Oh, that is a great question. A lot of Dr. Seuss and a fair share of Doc McStuffins, as long as we're in the medical community.
I was going to say.
The Lion Guard. Yeah.
Have you gotten into Vampirina at all? Because that's...
Heck no!
That's pretty much been constant at my house.
Oh. No, I'm trying to limit the stuff that my daughter likes. She just won't have the option of watching stuff that I consider complete crap. And so, like, she was watching some show on Netflix that was like baby animals in diapers walking around talking like babies, and I was like, no, she already uses full sentences. We're not going to go backwards with these stupid animals. And so I'm going to find my old Warner Brothers DVDs, and she's going to learn all about Bugs Bunny. That's what we're doing next. So.
I have those.
Good plan.
So yeah, you know, new dad stuff, and you know, getting ready for twin boys on their way. So,
Wee-hoo!
as far as pop culture stuff, it's everything that we're going to talk about here in a minute. So I am going to see a Sundance movie next Saturday night.
Which one?
Good question. Little Monsters, it's what it's called.
Wasn't
Isn't
that
Howie Mandel in
Yeah, Howie Mandel.
You'd think so.
That was
That's
the
the
old with
first
Fred
IMDb.
Savage?
That's the first IMDb thing. It says not to be confused with the Fred Savage Howie Mandel. I think that movie, as dumb as it was, speaking of things that won't hold up when you go back to watch them, I think that's what made me not afraid of monsters in my room, because I was like, they're funny. Little Monsters is about a washed-up musician. Oh, crap, I don't want to go to that. Don't click when I tell you not to click. A washed-up musician teams with a teacher and a kids' show personality to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies.
Oh my gosh.
The image that they have released for it is Lupita Nyong'o in a blood-stained dress in front of a bunch of schoolgirls in their little uniforms.
Naturally.
You had me at
That's
Lupita.
awesome.
I was going to say, Lupita's my girl.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Josh Gad is also in it, which could go either way.
Yeah.
I saw
Sweet.
a film at Sundance a couple years ago called Cooties, and it might
heard
be
about
on
that.
it might be on Netflix. I'm not sure, but basically, they had a few movie stars or TV stars in it.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go to this school, and one of the chicken nuggets is tainted. And at lunchtime, so the kid eats it, and then he turns into a zombie, and all the kids start becoming zombies, and then they're like, the teachers are like trying to fight off kids, and then at the very end, you find out only the kids can turn into zombies, and adults don't have any effect on anything that they do. So it's really stupid. Yeah,
Elijah Wood, Rainn Wilson, Alison Pill, Jack McBrayer,
Yeah,
Jorge Garcia.
yeah.
So people that I genuinely like that.
The movie was terrible.
Matt Jones. Yeah, that's one that I skipped. I
So
was like, maybe, but... So yeah, that's... Yeah.
Okay. Nate!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Take that
Taking a
chunk of
bite.
pizza out of your mouth.
He timed it.
I didn't want to like push you in, like.
There are reasons to do this over Skype. I'm just
Ever-
saying.
Sorry, I wanted to talk. Gosh, guys. Okay, so I've been into Armello. So these are Switch games I've been into. Armello, Block Quest Maker. Have you guys seen Block Quest Maker?
No.
It's like Zelda dungeons, right? And they have some like challenges that you can do, but you can actually go in and you can make your own dungeons and post them online, and people can play your dungeons. And it's really a lot of fun, and it kind of looks like what is it? Block. What is it?
Bomberman?
Yeah. No.
Really? No.
No. It
Minecraft?
Minecraft. Jeez, thank you. Okay, so yeah, it looks kind of like that. My son and I have gone to a couple Utah Jazz games because we like going. For Christmas, I got him a card game called This Game Goes to 11, and it's about scoring like music up to level 11, like Spinal Tap. And then I got a new guitar for Christmas, and I've been playing with that a lot, which is great. And yeah, besides that, that's pretty much what I've been up to.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yep.
Steven.
So, the main thing that I've been up to was getting engaged.
That's not a big deal or anything like that.
It's kind of a big deal. But as far as like nerdy pop culture stuff, I've been frankly doing a lot of gaming recently, more than I usually do. So 2 Switch games in particular have really captured my attention. Most recently, I've been playing a ton of Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight is one of my favorites. It is so good.
Hollow Knight's legit.
It is so good.
I haven't
legit.
played it yet.
It's
I'm excited.
Castlevania, except instead of like gothic horror monsters, everything is bugs.
Oh, cool.
Everything is insects. There's this really sort of bleak, apocalyptic tone to everything. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game. It's kind of an indie game in the tradition of things like Limbo. So you've got a similar
cool.
aesthetic, a lot of
cool.
really pronounced lights and shadows.
Mm-hmm.
The character designs are very charming. Again, they're bugs. And so they're sometimes cute, sometimes creepy. And you get the sense, I'm not very far in the game yet, I don't think. So if there's something that I'm missing here, please don't correct me because I want to discover it on my own. But I kind of get the sense, it strikes me a lot like Shadow of the Colossus, where your guy is not the good guy. At the very least, you're doing some real damage with your quest here. So it's a bit scary in that sense, but man, it's been such a good game.
It is. Have you gone to... You probably haven't gone to Dark Nest yet.
I don't know. The last thing
You would know if you went to Dark Nest.
The last thing that I did was I went to the Mantis Village and died.
I love the Mantis Village.
And died.
Yeah, let me guess. Against them, did you get to the Mantis Lords?
Yep. They killed me.
They are.
And then I head back that way, and I run into this guy who's like, "Oh, did you get killed by these guys? You might want to go somewhere else." Thank you. The other game that I wanted to talk about real quick. So, for years, I've been trying to get into the Dragon Ball franchise because there's been something about it that I've really liked. Problem is, I hate the show. Like, I hate the cartoon. I can't watch it. Eventually, what I put my finger on is what I really like about Dragon Ball is the character designs by Akira Toriyama. And Akira Toriyama is pretty well known for participating in another franchise. So I was jonesing after this franchise and bought a game for it from the Switch. The game is Dragon Quest. And the game for the Switch is Dragon Quest Builders.
I love Dragon Quest Builders. It's so good.
It's really quite good. It's sort of a like Minecraft Terraria sort of thing. You run around, you kill monsters, you fulfill quests, and you're building a city the whole time. You craft different things to put into your city. You get to build different structures, and as you build more buildings, people flock to your city and they give you more quests and stuff. It's not quite like a SimCity. It's actually pretty darn structured, and the combat, frankly, is no good.
Yeah.
But the game itself is so fun and so charming. You get all the great Akira Toriyama monster designs that I've been playing Dragon Quest since I was like 6 years old, I swear. And so I've been loving Dragon Quest Builders. It's not quite the Dragon Quest game that I wanted it to be, but it is a blast. I think I've only sunk 25 hours into it, and there's a good chance that when I'm done with Hollow Knight, I'm going back.
Wow.
Dragon Quest XI-S is coming to the Switch, so...
Fingers crossed.
It 100% is.
Well,
They've
is it
released
100%
footage.
coming to the Switch in the US?
Yes.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. I knew it was coming in Japan.
Yes, and in fact, like all the extra content, they've already voiced in English as well. And
Oh, nice.
so, yeah.
Yeah, the Dragon Quest games, I haven't finished one of them since Dragon Quest 3, because they're too big, but they are good, so really looking forward to it.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, I think for me that's a pretty good
I was
covering.
gonna say, you're pretty
I did a lot there.
It's more gaming than I've heard you talk about
ever.
ever. Yeah.
I've been kind of addicted to the Switch.
Yeah,
It
the Switch
seems
just
like-
does that.
It seems like out of the gate, it's doing more. It seems like it's more interesting choices than the Wii was originally, because the Wii was just like, I mean, it was a whole new thing, yeah, but like, it seems like it's all your Nintendo favorites, but then all these cool indie games that keep popping up. I played a lot of Towerfall on the Switch.
Oh,
that
so
game!
good.
I love that game.
Towerfall by Matt Makes Games, who made another game that I think that we're going to be talking about today, so...
I birds.
Everybody's just looking at him like, what'd he do?
I thought he was holding his face like I'm excited to talk about something.
I thought that he was doing the anime Japanese schoolgirl thing.
Oh, that,
Water wasn't streaming out of his eyes.
That's the problem.
Emily, save us.
Emily!
okay, so something you might know about me, and if you don't, you'll know now. In lieu of watching new things, sometimes I like to rewatch a lot of things all the time. I know. Very surprising, I know. But to start, what I've been into, I saw Glass, which if you haven't seen it and you like M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movies, / you at least like Unbreakable and Split, you'll probably like this one. It's not what a lot of people expected it to be. I kind of figured it out pretty quickly, but it did not bother me in any way. So, have any of you guys seen it?
No.
Nope.
Not yet.
Nope.
Well, when you see
I never
it,
saw Split either, so...
Split's pretty cool.
it's pretty cool.
Split's worth watching.
Yeah.
It gets intense. So, if that's not your shtick, then that might not be for you. But
Also, I never saw Unbroken or
Unbreakable.
Kimmy Schmidt. Yeah.
okay, but speaking of that, I was scrolling through my Netflix to look at some kind of new things that I'm watching, and the new episodes, the last episodes of season 4, which is the last season, you guys, until they come out with the movie, which they are. They're on Netflix like right now. So when I get home, I'm gonna go to bed, and then I'm gonna go to lunch with my, grandparents. But when I get home, that's what I'm watching.
I watched like 5 of them while doing laundry today. It was amazing.
And then as far as stuff I'm rewatching, because I do that always, I'm rewatching the OA for like the, I don't know, 2nd time or something. Because it's the best. And if you guys haven't seen that show by now, I'm so disappointed in you, Mom.
Hey, I'm not your mom.
Are you sure?
You can
Steven?
still be disappointed in me, though. It's okay.
Does she listen to this show? 'Cause-
She probably doesn't. I just like to pretend she
Okay.
does.
If she did, then I would sit up
I like to
straighter.
pretend she cares.
Oh no!
No, my mom cares a lot about me. She just like, this is boring to her. And then I've been rewatching. My parents got me this box set of In Plain Sight for Christmas this year. Have you guys ever watched that show? It was on USA Network.
Mm-hmm. Burn Notice and nothing else from that network.
In Plain Sight was a really good one about. I don't remember what the actress's name is, but she plays a U.S. Marshal who works for Witness Protection Program. So it's just a really interesting show. It's on no streaming services. I mean, you can like buy seasons on Amazon, so it's not like easily accessible unless you want to pay for it. But it's really good if you decide to watch it. And I'm gonna say that's me because I'm running out of anything else that I could possibly be doing lately.
Woo!
I do like Mary McCormick though.
Yes.
I didn't have to look up her name. I knew it off the top of my head.
Yes. Because
she
I knew it
was
was
good on
Mary
Wrestling.
something because she plays Mary Marshall. Mary McCormick. And also on the show in Plain Sight, there's a character named Marshall who is a U.S. Marshal. He is Marshall Man.
Marshall Man.
Congratulations, you've learned something new, and you'll totally watch it now, right? If nothing
okay.
else but for that.
That's all that I will say about that. And I'm Brady, guys. Hi.
Yay.
So I've been into things lately that might surprise you. First of all, I want to talk about Beat Saber. Which, have you guys seen anything for this?
No.
Just that I know that it exists.
Nothing about this.
Okay, so it's a VR game that I have for my PSVR that is a rhythm game. So imagine something like Guitar Hero with lightsabers. Where you have blocks come at you and you have to slice the blocks in certain ways with, a certain hand. And it is amazing. You feel so cool as you play.
Wands?
Yep. Yeah, you do. And it is absolutely wonderful. We actually had a big family night the other night here, and we did a lot of VR until my brother-in-law, Paul, actually tackled our TV while playing Superhot because he was trying to tackle the guy.
That's unfortunate.
That's going to be a deep YouTube dive I'm going to do eventually. Is going in and seeing all of the crazy stuff that people have done on VR.
Oh yeah. And also on the PlayStation, I finally got Horizon Zero Dawn, which is
awesome game.
Yeah, it's robot dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I haven't gotten it until this point is because it came out less than a week before Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, so
Yep. That's true.
And then listening to all sorts of podcasts and hearing people talk about Horizon Zero Dawn and retrospectively after playing Zelda and being like, it's great in the old sense of open world games. And that's exactly what it is. I don't really like talky, boring story from NPCs that I don't care about games. I'm not going to play Rhythm Heaven for you, Dax. Lately, Dax has been bringing the DS to me and asking me to play Rhythm Heaven while he watches. It's pretty adorable.
That's
awesome.
how Chris played all of Breath of the Wild. Daddy, can I watch you play Zelda? And he shed tears. I've been waiting for a child to ask me to play Zelda for them. Can I watch you play?
Anyway, but Horizon Zero Dawn, I mean, I have my problems with it, but overall, there are parts of it that just feel so cool. When you're going up against this giant robot saber-toothed tiger thing that shoots, that can freeze you, and has lightning bolts that it shoots at you, and it's seriously 20 times your size, and you're, shooting ropes at it to tie it to the ground as you... It gets pretty cool. The combat is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I loved it. In fact, I played it twice.
Yeah.
So it's open world, you said?
Yeah.
But just not on the level of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
it's
not... It's very much a focused narrative open world game. In other words, there's an open world. Yeah, there's a lot of quests. But you just kind of go in one direction, basically,
Like Ocarina of Time as opposed to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have also got into some things that are a little bit older, just getting right back into them. Skyrim, I've fallen back into that hole and I'm running around as a vampire now, even though I don't want to be a vampire.
That's how I started the
Yeah.
game.
And
It's the worst.
and so it's like, I don't care if my blood is boiling. I'm not acting like a vampire. I'm not using any of the vampire abilities.
Do you know how to cure yourself?
No, I have no idea.
Do you have Lydia with you? Because you can
yes.
you can feed on her to calm yourself, so that the villagers don't notice you're a vampire and don't try to kill you anytime you walk into a city. But you look it up online, you have to go to a specific wizard in a specific town, get him a specific item for him to do a specific ritual, and like, I got bit by a vampire early on. Like, maybe I had fought one dragon, probably not. And so like, I leveled up like 10 levels just to get a cure of my vampirism, ignoring anything else that was going on in Skyrim, so
Right.
it was hilarious.
Anyway, so that's been a lot of fun. And then I also started rereading Oathbringer.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, the first time that I read through it, I had my problems with certain characters. And I'll just come out and say that I did not like Shalon's storyline. I did not like Moash's storyline. Mm-mm. In fact, they both just made me upset every time that they were on. Yep. But what they do with other characters, Kaladin and Dalinar, are just so good. I love those books. I love Brandon Sanderson. And then I've been playing Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which is pretty great because it's a remake of the very first Pokemon. So of like Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Wow. Except I actually really like that now you see the Pokemon in the open world. So you choose who you want to go and catch. And that change right there is just,
that's cool.
What was the name of that one?
Pokemon Let's Go.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu.
What's the difference?
One of them has Eevee, the other one has Pikachu.
Yeah, there's different Pokemon that you get in each one.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue back in the day. It's
Okay.
slightly different Pokemon that you can collect, and your starter Pokemon's a little different.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like waste the money to buy both.
To trade your Pokemon.
It's more like with every Pokemon game, you shouldn't really get both. What you should do is you should get one,
and
then
your
friend
friend
should get another one, and then you guys play at the same time. That's the way the Pokemon games were meant to be experienced.
Because then what you do is you trade Pokemon that they can't get in their game. And
I see. Interesting.
Yeah, so...
I never knew Pokemon was that deep. I just walked around in grass and tried to find stuff.
Oh yeah, Pokemon gets deep. And then I have been listening to a podcast. Now, as you guys know, I've like a lot of true crime type stuff. Like I think it's...
Ooh, I do too.
I think it's absolutely fascinating. And this one has been kind of hard to listen to on one hand because it hits literally close to home. But at the same time, it's so fascinating and so well produced. Mm-hmm. And that's Cold.
Okay.
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 So, we're talking about the Cold podcast. Right?
Yes, we are talking about the
Okay.
Cold podcast.
With their reactions.
The two reactions is
Okay,
hilarious.
my husband, his brother's mother-in-law was the babysitter of those boys.
Justina's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I know
It's-
so much about that because they were like in it when it happened.
Yeah.
It is so hard to listen to because it really hits close to home, but it's fascinating, and I love that really the meaning and the message behind the podcast is, look, these are warning signs. If you are in a relationship like this, you get help. Mm-hmm. Get help because it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And not to get too serious on this podcast, but you know, sometimes you need a little bit of serious in your life.
Sure.
And yeah, this one definitely fits that.
Yeah.
It fits that bill.
I had to stop. I can't listen to it anymore. The Cold podcast, it's supposed to be about Susan Powell and her disappearance, and Josh Powell, her husband, and the kind of messed up dynamic that led to the incident and everything that fell out after it. There's a weird amount of interest in Josh Powell and his family that I'm frankly uncomfortable with.
I agree.
There's one episode in particular where they start playing the music that Josh Powell's father wrote about Susan. And they kept playing snippets of these songs that he wrote, and that was the moment where it's just like, I can't do this anymore.
It's hard.
I can't do it. I don't fault anybody for liking it. My fiance's been listening to it and just devouring it. I can't listen to it anymore, personally.
Have you heard the podcast, Our Favorite Murder?
Mm-hmm.
I listen to that quite a bit, even though the language is pretty blue. But it's really cool. And I heard of another one that I'm trying to remember the name of. It's Australian.
Oh, yes.
What's it called?
I just a second. Let me look at my podcast app because I know that I have it on here. Because I listened to the Silk Road on that one. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It is Case File.
Case File?
Case File.
It probably is, yeah.
But anyway. And so, yeah, on that note, let's go ahead. Let's take a break. You know, maybe get a little bit of humor and lightness back into our lives after that.
I'm going to
Before
turn
you
on the
take a
Baby
break.
Shark video.
Before you take a break, I just remembered Grace and Frankie season 5? Question mark? Whatever the new season is really good. That's all.
They're already on 5 seasons?
Yes! And it's so good!
And I wasn't recording again yet.
Oh, Brady, the one time I counted on you to be recording.
One time, friend.
No.
Gil's in a lot of trouble.
And welcome back, guys.
Hi.
What, want me to dance for you? How would you... No, I'm dancing.
No, Gil. All right. So this is our best of 2018 podcast. And the way that we are going to be doing this is we are going to go around the table. Each of us is going to name one thing, talk about it for a minute. And then we each have 3 things that we're going to go over. And then at the end, we're going to have a last call where you can just call out anything that has not been mentioned that you think is pretty darn cool.
In a rapid fire session.
Yeah.
Who can yell the loudest? It's probably not me.
It's probably Brady. Wait.
Yeah.
I can project
probably.
real good as an
I'm just
actress,
gonna duck
but...
under the table.
All right, and so I'm going to go in reverse order of how we did what we've been into, and we're going to start off with Emily.
Okay, so last year, very late into the year, mind you, this particular thing that I will be talking about started in May or June of 2018. There is a website called The Ringer, theringer.com, that does all kinds of things, but there's these 2 particular people that do an in-depth podcast of a lot of different things. Before that, like the year before that, they did a really in-depth on Game of Thrones stuff. But this year, starting in June or May, they went in-depth to every single Harry Potter book and its movie, and then a bunch of extra stuff that I haven't listened to because I'm not interested in what happened at LeakyCon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so what they do is they take it's Mallory Rubin and Jason Concepcion. Mallory Rubin is the executive producer of TheRinger.com, and Jason Concepcion holds some other particular role. He's hilarious. But they take every episode. They take a section of chapters in a book and dissect it. So they take you on the Hogwarts Express and kind of generally talk about what happened. And then they get into another section where they go more in depth as to what's going on. And then they go take another section where they talk about something, like learn more about the Hogwarts Express or Dementors, and go like way in depth into that history. And then they each pick 7 things that they really appreciated out of that section of chapters. Because 7 remains the most magical number, because 7 Horcruxes.
Like they cover, like if they say the Hogwarts Express, they cover every Hogwarts Express trip on each book?
No.
Or they do it book by book?
So, an example, take so the last book one that I listened to was the last 3 chapters of Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
So, during the section, the Hogwarts Express, They go over a thing.
Sorry.
And then they go in depth, and then they have a separate section where they pick something that, like, could be learned more about in that series of chapters, like Dementors or Horcruxes or whatever. And they go in depth on that. And then they pick 7 favorite things, and then they pick somebody who, like, is their favorite or the winner or whatever of those series of chapters. And it's not always a good guy. Like, sometimes it's Voldemort because he was the most compelling character in that series of chapters or whatever. And then hearing their opinions every time they do the movie episode, because they do it a little bit differently, but going in depth as to what they think the movies did well and what they think the movies did horribly. They have a lot of opinions about the Goblet of Fire, as many people probably do. I'm not a Michael Gambon hater. Everybody else on the planet is, but I'm not Michael Gambon. I believe in you.
I like him in literally everything else I've seen with him in it, except those movies.
I actually don't mind him as Dumbledore.
See,
I think if
I
we didn't
don't
have
know.
Richard Harris first, I wouldn't have a problem.
I mean, Richard Harris was definitely better, but Michael Gambon was bad. Like, he
Yeah.
really
It
wasn't.
It
was
wasn't
just
his
a-
fault.
it was just
What's your name of the Goblet of Fire?
Hey, people have to get over that.
Nope,
Okay?
can't.
Get over it. An acting choice, and I think it worked just fine. Thank you.
Bad direction then.
I totally disagree. I totally disagree. But it's been really... I listened to that with my husband because we're both really big Harry Potter people.
What's
And
the podcast called?
It's called Binge Mode Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I thought it was called the... Okay.
So the website that it's from is
Yeah.
Oathbringer.
I've heard about Binge.
It's called Binge Mode Harry Potter. If you like Harry Potter... Okay, let me preface this. If you think Harry Potter's kind of okay, this podcast might not be for you. But if you love Harry Potter, like, a lot... Like, you've read all the books, you've seen all the movies, you listened to the books on tape even, you know what I mean? Like, you're all about it.
read them in Russian for language
Yeah,
practice.
dude.
Uh-huh.
Do it. Listen to
Richard
this
Dale.
podcast.
What?
Yeah, it's been
It's so good. My husband and I have been so satisfied with it.
I thought
That's awesome.
when you bought them.
2 of our podcasters are going on some kind of a tangent about Harry Potter and Russia.
We were far, far away in Siberia when Book 6 came out. It was a hard time.
So if you haven't, it's on Spotify. It's on all kinds of podcast streaming
And
services.
Jim Dale,
Definitely check it out.
Jim
the
Dale.
reader of the.
Oh, Jim
That's
Dale.
just so good. And
Yeah, Jim Dale is the
Pushing
if you're
Daisies.
listening to the books on tape of Harry Potter, Jim Dale is the correct person to listen to. Stephen Fry's fine, but Jim Dale is the correct person to listen to.
Yeah.
You know what she did to Stephen Fry? He had trouble saying Harry pocketed it. And you don't notice that phrase until you think about it. And like, that's how he always, like, she always phrases, instead of saying Harry put it in his pocket,
Yeah.
she always says pocketed it because Stephen Fry complained about having trouble saying that.
Yeah.
And so she purposely, every time after that, like, wrote Harry pocketed it or so-and-so pocketed it. Like, just listen to it.
That's
when you listen to the
hilarious.
books again, you're going to notice that phrase popping out a lot more because of that.
that's interesting.
But Jim Dale's
funny.
wonderful. I love Stephen Fry. I haven't heard those versions yet, but I'm sure that Jim Dale is like the man.
Makes me miss Pushing Daisies a
I just
lot.
come
Yeah.
back and rewatched those. They
They're
still
so
hold
good.
up. They're
They're
still
so
good.
good.
So good and awesome.
Have you listened?
We're
to any
talking
other-
about pushing daisies, and there's no reaction from Steven. I don't know how to feel about this.
I mean, it didn't come out in 2018.
Yeah.
But no, like,
Ooh.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on this podcast before, but Pushing Daisies is part of the reason that I'm engaged.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Did you bring her back to life?
but now I can't ever touch her again, which is
No.
going to be very awkward.
You'll have to kiss with saran wrap.
That sounds hot.
Steven's really into that kind of stuff.
I haven't heard this part of the story.
Well, it's not much of a story. It's like I threw a party at my house and invited her. The party was literally just an excuse to invite her over.
Now you're Ted. You went from Ned to Ted.
Then when the party ended, everybody's leaving, and she's kind of like dragging her feet, like, I think he wants me to hang around, so I'm going to stick around. And I'm like, hey, there's this really great television show that I like. You want to watch an episode of Pushing Daisies? And, she's like, sure, let's do it. And so we just, stuck the DVD in the DVD player. We sat down right next to each other on the couch and did not touch for an hour. Because I'm a coward.
No.
Well, let me tell you what he did wrong, son.
I mean, I'm engaged to her, so I'm going to go on a limb and say nothing. Emily's looking
It's not
disturbing.
okay. No. It's okay that you guys didn't touch for an hour, and it doesn't make you a coward at all. Sometimes people are just pushy, like me with my husband. There was one time we were hanging out watching Doctor Who. We were just sitting there and everything was fine, and I'm like, man, why hasn't this guy kissed me yet?
I had a girl actually say that to me one time.
So wait, we're sitting there watching Doctor Who. I'm impatient because he's not even like trying anything. So I'm like, Curtis, kiss me, and he says, what? Because he was watching Doctor Who. He wasn't paying attention. So I had to repeat myself in order to get his lips on mine. But obviously it worked out.
Yeah,
you're not a coward.
I have a hard time making a first
impatient people in the world. That
Guys really need like the dude with the sticks on the runway. You know, we're not subtle.
Go for it.
Come X4.
All right, Steven, what is one of your things that you want to talk about?
But don't forget Binge on Harry Potter. Now that we've totally
Have you listened to anything else that they've done? Do they have more?
They have Game of Thrones that they did.
Oh, so it's like okay.
They're like really, really long.
No, that's fine.
Things.
Yeah.
Check it out, Steven.
So, I'm going to start with probably the least well-known of my 3 picks, and we'll go up from there. There was a movie that came out last year. It was nominated, apparently, for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. I did not realize that until literally just now. The movie is called Mirai. It's an anime film.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
I've heard so many good things.
So Mirai is apparently the first non-Ghibli animated film to receive an Academy Award nomination.
Really?
That's
From
interesting.
Japan, you mean? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so Mirai is from the filmmaker Mamoru Hosoda, who is brilliant. I have seen, he has, can't remember exactly how many notable films he has. So he did Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time,
Children.
Summer Wars, The Boy and the Beast, Mirai, and one of the Digimon films.
Digimon Adventure?
Maybe 2 of
3D.
the Digimon films.
Digimon Grand Prix. Sorry, I'm reading his page.
Yeah. And so the thing is, every movie of his that I've seen, which is most of them, I skipped The Boy and the Beast for some reason, but I've seen most of his films. They're beautiful. They're brilliant. His designs, his scenes, I say his, like it's one man doing all the work. That's never entirely fair. But the Hosoda films, they're never quite as beautiful as like the Ghibli films, except when they need to be, and then they're amazing. There's this brilliant sequence in Wolf Children when the 2 children and their mother are running through the snowy fields and they're just kicking up snow everywhere, and it's gorgeous. Mirai is, frankly, of all of Mamoru Hosoda's films, the least visually impressive, but it is the most, I think, thematically impressive. And that's saying something, because if you've seen Wolf Children, it will make you wish Mother's Day was every day.
Yeah.
So Mirai tells the story of this young family, and in particular, their young boy, who is, I believe, around like 3 or 4 years old. He is really excited that his parents are coming home from the hospital with his new baby sister. And his baby sister winds up demanding all of his parents' attention. And so this little 4-year-old boy gets very resentful of all the attention that is now being directed to this little girl. And he throws temper tantrums, and he's having a hard time coping. Anyway, when this is happening, he goes out into the yard and he has these bizarre flights of fancy that you can never quite tell if they're real or not. I mean, they probably aren't, because there are things like his dog turns into a homeless man and he steals the homeless man's tail and puts it on himself, and now he's a dog. He also runs into his sister repeatedly, except now instead of being an infant, she's grown up. She's a teenager. And so him and his dog/human friend and his sister wind up going on these different little adventures. And the movie's all about him kind of learning to cope with having a new baby sister, but it's also about him exploring his own family history. He meets his grandfather, or his great-grandfather, who in the English version is voiced by Daniel Day Kim. The only really notable member of the English voice cast, I mean, okay, I guess John Cho's in it, but I'm not as familiar with John Cho.
Rebecca Hall?
What?
You gonna say Rebecca Hall?
Who's Rebecca Hall?
The mother?
I love Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, yes, Rebecca Hall. I pulled her up and I saw the picture. It's like, oh wait, I know who that is. Yeah, no, Rebecca Hall's in it. But like, unlike Studio Ghibli, who released their films in the United States, or at least did through Disney, and so they usually got like top tier A-list actors.
Yeah.
Or frequently did. The Mamoru Hosoda films don't always get that, but they're still like really beautiful. So Mirai is the Japanese word for, I believe, for future. And so this is a story that's kind of all about the future of this boy's family. But it's also about looking to the past and finding your connection to this larger family. It was a gorgeous film. I laughed, I cried, I wanted to watch it again immediately thereafter. It was another, like, I've had this experience with a couple of movies where I'm in the moment of watching it, I'm like, well, this isn't quite as transcendent as Wolf Children. It's not quite as wild and wonderful as Summer Wars. But, you know, I liked this about it, and I liked this about it, and I liked this about it. And the more I talked about it, the more I realized that I loved this movie. And I think some of it might just be me getting to the point where I'm about to start a family. I'm getting married in a couple of months. And looking at that sort of, like, big picture of your family extending way into the past and way into the future, it really hit me. Flew under a lot of people's radar. I don't think it got a big theatrical release here in the Salt Lake area. It was only showing at the little art house theaters, the Broadway and the Tower. But it was beautiful and totally worth it. Anybody who's a fan of animation, check out anything by Mamoru Hosoda. But since it's topical, it got nominated for an Academy Award. Not a chance it wins, but it got nominated and it's wonderful. Check out Mirai.
When did it come out?
I wound up seeing it in like October, November, thereabouts.
Okay.
I just want to bring up that was the man with the English degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what English majors do? They write.
Bring a bang bang.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
All right, Nate.
Okay, I got a movie, an album, and then a video game for you. I'll do the movie first. This movie came out in September, and it was a limited release, meaning it really only came out in New York, LA, and for some reason Houston. But anyway, it's nominated for an Academy Award in the Best Documentary Feature, and it's called Free Solo. And
I've heard of it.
It's about a guy who climbs up El Capitan Cliff in Yosemite Park. It's 3,000 feet high, and he does it without ropes or carabiners or anything. I mean, he's just going straight up this thing, and it showed him like how he did all these other ones and how he would always like psych himself out of doing that one.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of, he's got this weird vibe about him, and like he went in for an MRI just for fun, and they showed that like his brain, usually in the places where people are like high active, where they're like, this is dangerous, or maybe I should, all of that was like really low functioning, so he didn't have like that fear, right? And so anyway,
Sorry. Isn't that called common sense?
Yeah. Yeah. But then he gets a girlfriend, and she's like really pretty, and she climbs with him when they do rope and rappel and stuff. But he's like, I got to do this, and she's like, well, I love you, and I want to start a family with you. Is that going to stop you from climbing that cliff? And he's like, no. And like he just shrugs. He's like, I'm going to climb it.
Wow.
And so he starts. It's just crazy because like he does rope climb it, and I mean they have film cameras everywhere. So he does spend time like trying to find routes where he can go, and then he's helping the cameraman like set up different cameras so that when he goes. So anyway, he would psych himself out, and then just in the morning just decided, I'm gonna go do it. And he started doing it, and the guys woke up and like, holy crap, did he start already? And all the cameras were, it's amazing. It was so good. And it talked about other free climbers that had fallen to their death, and there were parts where it gets like more intense than like a really good action movie. I mean, it really is, it's really intense, and I just had like a great time. I saw it here in Utah last week, and I believe that it was only a week for the run. It was a National Geographic film, and it's going to be on DVD and streaming, I believe, on February 5th. So it's coming out soon. So I would highly encourage you to watch it because It's really cool.
Cool.
So yeah.
Even if you're deathly afraid of heights.
Yep.
Okay.
Just hold your hand. Your other hand.
Hold your own hand.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what you do because you're like, oh my gosh.
See, hold your own hand almost feels like a
Oh my
backhanded
gosh.
way of saying keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, I could see being shouted that at an assembly with, like I can see a teacher shouting that at me.
Billy, hold your own hand.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Manson.
All right, John.
I didn't ask everybody before we get started, who has seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
I have not, and I'm sad to say that I have not because I feel like it's something
No?
that I know that I would really, really like.
Yeah, I would think that of anyone, it would be Stephen and Emily because
Yeah.
it's Amy Sherman Palladino.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch Amazon.
Yeah.
So,
This is reason to get Prime.
woof.
I do not like the Gilmore Girls. We tried. I watched. Like it. I can see.
I actually kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. Thanks for that, by the way.
Welcome.
I can
My
see
first
how,
episode.
if you were at all into that kind of thing, it would be interesting to you. Now, take all of the good things about Gilmore Girls, the writing, the the filmmaking, the everything, the production value, that kind of stuff, and make it about something much more interesting. And then you have Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So Midge Maisel, it starts off. She is the perfect woman. It starts off, I think, at her wedding, how she's giving a speech at her wedding because she's just quirky like that, and it's set at 58. I think it's 1958 when it starts. Imagine the lighter side of Mad Men. That's almost what Mrs. Maisel is like. So she's very funny. She goes with her husband to the village a couple nights a week to go to do open mics at a stand-up. And he's pretty well received. He's pretty funny, she likes it. And she's got everything all together. They live in the same very nice building as her parents. They're having the rabbi over for Yom Kippur. Everything's going to go really well. And then her husband has a bad night and decides to dump her. And that's the first episode. She gets on stage, at the end of the episode, she gets on stage when she happens to be at that same club and goes off on a rant about him and his secretary and all of this and absolutely destroys the crowd. The manager of the club, played by,
Tony Shalhoub?
No, that's her father. Tony
okay.
Shalhoub plays her father. The manager of the club is,
What's the character's name? I can.
She doesn't play Suki. She plays Susie. Meyerson is the name of the character.
Alex Borstein.
Alex Borstein.
Oh, yeah.
She's the supporting actress to Rachel Brosnahan. She runs the club, and she books the acts that are in this open mic club. It's a coffee shop, and she's like, you have something. You're hilarious, and she is very funny and very smart and educated and everything.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you got to do this again. Well, she gets arrested because in the course of her first stand-up act, she ends up flashing everyone. And so is thrown in jail. She runs into Lenny Bruce, which, if you've studied comedy, the history of comedy at all in the last century, anyone that you like in comedy, it was inspired by someone, it all goes back to Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
And so she crosses paths with him. The whole thing, the production value is outstanding. The writing is amazing. The acting is incredible. It's all just wonderful. Everything about the show is just incredible. And, on top of all that, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The language is really, really rough. The things that Alex Borstein says, especially in the second season, would, make a sailor blush. But all very believable. It's not... It is crude. It is harsh. But it is all... There's just a ring of authenticity to it that makes it appealing, as well as shocking. But I cannot recommend the show highly enough. And the second season might have been better than the first one, and the first one was outstanding. And there's enough history mixed in there, so it's who she rubs shoulders with and the things that are going on. The other one, it ends with the 1960 election is going on. it's just incredible, and it's worth it just to watch Tony Shalhoub. Like the second season, she's still trying to get her comedy career off the ground. She goes to the Catskills with her family for 2 months because that's what they do. In the summer, they go to the Catskills and they go to this like family summer camp, and like the kids are taken away to the kids camp, and they spend the day doing competitions and activities and drinking mostly.
Yeah.
And her agent follows her up there, Alex Borstein, because she's like, I want you to, we gotta get you some gigs because I'm dying here, because like she's putting all of her hopes on her, and she's kind of her only client, and like all she has going for her, and she ends up like stumbling into like working at the camp, kind of like just trying to hang around. So like she walks around the camp trying to get a hold of her client just with a plunger over her shoulder. She's like, no one's gonna bother you if you have a plunger. It's just a funny bit. I think I've jumped into too early, but you guys gotta watch this show.
Well, there's a reason that it won the Emmy for Best Television Series.
It won the Emmy for Best Television Series.
And Brosnahan won twice.
She won twice.
For Best Actress.
And Alex Borstein won Supporting Actress. They won the pilot won for directing, for writing, casting for the series, editing, music supervision. Several other nominations, Golden Globes and Emmys. It is incredible. It is amazing. I'd recommend it to anyone. It is a wonderful show.
Sweet.
And by the next time we meet, if you guys haven't watched it, then like you're just dead to me.
Well, at the rate we're going, that'll be in 3 years.
Yes.
So,
I think I could
so we
probably
got some time.
Yeah.
All right. So with my picks, I've decided, you know, I could go all in gaming. I could go all in TV shows. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to try to go outside my comfort zone a little bit.
Growing up, and it's just so beautiful.
And so I am going to have one game, one TV show, and one movie.
Cool.
And so the movie, I wanted to choose something that impacted me that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, even though I don't know why, because this series is always, you know, it's always killer. It's always awesome. But I just really, really enjoyed it. And that was Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yes.
So I'm going to say something bold here. And John might try to strangle me, or he might just faint from the shock of me saying this. The Mission Impossible movies are better than Bond of any era. I'll just come out and say it.
But James Bond
John has
drove
died.
around in a tank in whichever one that was. Like, needlessly drove around in a tank. How can you get better than that?
How about a helicopter chase scene that ends in a fight on top of...
The fight on top of the cliff is... You missed the 5 times the helicopter crashed before that.
Yes.
Also, James Bond went to space.
No,
He had to jump the shark to get to
say,
space,
yeah.
but he didn't.
I mean, Mission Impossible always has some of the craziest action that you see in any movie. The stuff that Tom Cruise is putting himself through. I mean, was it his foot that he broke with that stunt in this movie?
His leg.
Yeah, his leg. He broke his leg with this. I mean, this man is getting old, and he's still insisting on doing these. And now Christopher McQuarrie, who directed this, and he also directed Rogue Nation, which was the last one, he is now signed on to do, I can't remember how many more movies.
2 more.
2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And after those both make $1 billion, we'll be like, okay. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think that Tom Cruise is going to die because
because
they keep
he's going to
escalating
kill
things.
himself.
Yeah.
So this movie just has a lot of great things going for it. I will say the main villain for both I think really you have to take Rogue Nation and Fallout almost as one movie, because they really do go so closely together, because you have Solomon Lane, who's your villain in both of the movies, and he's not my favorite. I don't like the trope of the kind of quiet voice, muffled villain who you never quite understand. We were talking about Eddie Redmayne earlier tonight, and he does that kind of a lot. But at the same time, like, I absolutely love Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust.
Okay,
I think
but-
that she is so great.
She's also so pretty. Can
Oh,
we
she
just,
is.
Like, state the obvious for a second? She's
Okay, good. I'm glad you said it first before all of us just started swooning.
so... No. she's pretty.
It's one of those you just fall in love a little bit.
Like, more than
And how she comes in this movie, I think, is great because she's basically trying to stop Ethan Hunt, which is crazy given their dynamic, but at the same time, at the same time, there's a lot of great things going here, and Henry Cavill I loved in this film.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's kind of introduced as this guy who's, buff, but kind of bumbling.
Yeah.
I love the scene when they skydive and, just things go wrong with him. But just with what happens there and how Ethan Hunt saves him, only to find out that, gasp, maybe he's not. This character's not on the up and up.
Oh no!
Which is,
I did not see that coming.
if there's one fault that I give this movie, it's that that's telegraphed a little bit too early and too well.
If they didn't give him such a crazy, had to be CGI'd out for Justice League mustache, then maybe it wouldn't have been so obvious that he was the bad guy the whole time.
Yeah.
And he leans a bit heavy into his speech about Ethan Hunt, where it's like, he's just describing himself.
Yeah.
So, still good.
Still good.
Still incredible, even despite,
And the action set pieces in this film are just absolutely amazing. As far as all of the Mission Impossible movies altogether, I think that my favorite is still Ghost Protocol, which is the one that's directed by Brad Bird.
Uh-huh.
I love that one so much. And then
The last good
probably
movie he
this one, and then the first one, and then
So I got a question.
Something
What do
like-
you think about the second one that John Woo did?
Let's not talk about that.
Well, see, that's the funny thing is, you talk about, lots of people, don't care for it, but I really like it.
It's
When was the last time you watched it?
Yeah,
It's
Mission
been a
Impossible
while.
2 was a lot of take off my mask, who am I now?
True.
Which, to be fair, that is a staple of the franchise, but 2 leaned a little bit too heavily into that.
Right. Well, Woo has, stylistic things that he does in all of his movies, like doves. You see the doves fly.
Explosions.
Yeah,
Just
just
in general,
whatever.
lots of
I
explosions.
got more action than my man John Woo, and I got mad hits like I was Rod Carew.
Whoa, you don't stop.
But anyway, so Mission Impossible Fallout, I very highly recommend it. It's probably
Where
one of
does
my favorite
Rogue
movies of the year.
Nation in your rankings? Where do you put Rogue Nation? Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout. Which do you?
I put Ghost Protocol first, and then Fallout, then Rogue Nation.
See, I'm
Is
not
Ghost
sure.
Protocol the one where he climbs on the
Burj
side of the
Khalifa.
building?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's the one I most vividly
See,
remember.
and we forget about 3. 3 was amazing. 3 was a really good movie. But then Ghost Protocol was kind of bringing the franchise back. Well, that's not fair because 3 kind of brought it back because 2 was so bad. But I think Ghost Protocol brought it to a whole nother level, and then Rogue Nation is I think set up the new status quo. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
didn't-
they're all great.
I haven't actually seen Fallout all the way through.
It is pretty long,
but
though. It is
I was
a
on a
long
cruise in
movie.
November, and they played that movie on the big screen that they had in the middle of the boat that you could just walk by, or you could sit and watch the movie. But I saw a few 10-minute clips here and there. It was pretty okay.
It's incredible. It's
Yeah,
worth seeing.
it's great.
I saw it in
know-
IMAX, and I'm really glad that.
Yeah.
I did.
You know what you can tell, though, is with the Mission Impossible movies, they used to go, okay, we want to make him crash a helicopter into a train in a tunnel, and then we want him to do this and this, and let's write a story around it. And you can tell that now they're starting to write stories.
And they get the
And
action
it gets
set
the action
pieces around them.
sequence. Yeah. So that's
I
what they've
am
been
worried
doing
that
right.
Tom Cruise is going to have to die on one of these because they keep stepping it up, right? They keep. I forget. Did they actually? I think they actually did skydiving for this one, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
They had to fill in some stuff on the computer, but at some point, it's just going to be No, we can't fire him out of a cannon. We just can't. Like, and he's gonna go, no, I'm up for it because he's like a producer on the movies. He's really behind it. He wants it to work. Like, personally, he might be nuts, but like, man, if this is what we get out of it, then like, yeah, Tom, jump on all the couches you want, man. Like,
yeah, Tom Cruise can do whatever he'd like in his
just
personal
say.
life as long as I can keep getting things like the Mission Impossible movies and Edge of Tomorrow, which I still think is one of my top action movies of the last 10 years.
That is a great movie, and it just was marketed poorly. I think it's going to hold up. Like, there's going to be a cult following of it.
Yeah.
So.
I was just gonna say, Tom Cruise has a tooth in the middle of his head. He's so centered. He'll be fine.
Anyway,
I
Emily.
like when I can get a good chuckle out of you.
That was a good one.
That's pretty funny.
Okay, so the next item of business I'd like to discuss at today's meeting. Shuffle the papers. There was a movie released last year that I kind of just didn't bother watching for a long time, and I wish I had watched it sooner, called Dumplin. Did any of you guys see that?
I've heard interesting things about it.
I was told by my sister, she said, your wife will like it, you will not. I said,
That's fair.
okay.
You might not like it.
Is it because I don't like any of Jennifer Aniston's movies, except
She's
for
such
Get
a
Over?
small
Or
part in it, though.
what's the movie she was in with Adam Sandler? Oddly, that's the one. Just Go With It.
Just Go With It.
That's the only that and.
You didn't like her in Bruce Almighty? She was pretty mild in that.
Oh crap! Okay, well, my Jennifer Aniston sucks in anything except TV theories out the window.
That's
fair. Get Over It was okay, or no, Just Go With It. Excuse me. Get Over It tonight.
I have more movies of hers you should see that changed my mind about me feeling that she was not a good actress.
What about the
Office
Leprechaun
Space.
movie that she's in?
Quiet you.
But the important thing about this movie is, yes, Jennifer Aniston is in it, but she's not the main part of this story. It tells the story of this girl whose mom is Jennifer Aniston. Her mom is a former beauty pageant queen. And so she's all about the beauty pageants. But her daughter loves Dolly Parton. She's a little bit heavier set, and so she kind of always had this kind of expectation from her mother about, like, why don't you get in pageant shape? I'd love you to be in pageants, blah, 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 blah. But you do you, Dumplin. And because she's heavier set, she hates being called Dumplin. So she has this, like, relationship with her mom that kind of stinks. But anyway, her aunt, who raised her for a long, long, long time, who also loved Dolly Parton, was also, you know, a little on the heavier side, passes away right as the movie starts. And this character decides that she's going to go enter this next beauty pageant that's going to happen against her mother's, you know, wishes and concerns about, you're just going to get embarrassed, Dumplin. Why are you trying to embarrass me, Dumplin? You know what I mean? So it's just her story about doing this pageant and learning more things about her aunt, and her relationships with her friends that change. She gets new friends, and there's this guy who, like, likes her, and she's always liked him, but she has this, like, because she's heavier set, she thinks there's no way that he can like me, this must be a joke, kind of a thing. So there's all kinds of lessons to be learned, and it's really kind of cheesy, but, like, it was really cute.
Okay.
You got a little bit of a drawl in there when you were talking about it. Like,
Because it's a southern...
Right, but like I think it was subconsciously spreading
That's
from
possible.
your character talk to your actual talk about the show
I
itself.
don't know. It's really good. You guys should see it.
All I've seen is the trailer for it because it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I want to say my fiance has actually seen it and was telling me about it, and she told me enough about it that I don't think it's my thing.
I don't know if it's your thing either, but
It's hard to tell what my thing is.
because your things change so much that, like, I don't know sometimes.
I know, me neither. Frankly, neither does she, so.
Now, I do like Drop Dead Gorgeous. That's
Yeah. Or Little
It's
Miss
not that
Sunshine.
movie.
Oh, Little Miss Sunshine. What's crazy about Little Miss Sunshine is the joke was that she was doing this risque song, and then, like, they have all these reality shows about pageant kids and stuff where they're all, like, dressed provocatively, and it's horrifying. Like, that's awful to me. My daughter will never be in a pageant. She is the cutest girl on the planet. She will not be in a pageant.
It's a scholarship program.
Yeah, whatever.
Fellows, Miss Congeniality, best scene in the movie? Right, when she comes out of the airplane hangar and Mustang Sally is playing. That is correct. Good. Everyone agrees.
All right, Steven.
Number 2 on my list, and that is a list of no particular order, is a video game It
I'm
is
excited for this
a
one.
wonderful video game.
This one would have been on my list, but I knew that Steven would want it.
Yeah, darn tootin'. Yeah, it's also a video game that I think people have talked a lot about. It's Celeste,
Oh, it's so
which
good.
got a Switch release this year. It came out last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out in
Yeah.
2018.
Okay, I just didn't play it until the end of the year when it came out on the Switch.
Yeah.
And holy cats, is that game good. So Celeste is a puzzle platformer sort of game. The conceit is you play this girl who is trying to climb a mountain. And she's just trying to climb this mountain to prove something to herself. And it's got some pretty simple mechanics. You can climb walls, but you run out of stamina, and so if you hold onto the wall for too long, you will slide off of it. You can jump, and then you can also do like a double jump sort of thing. You do this little like surge that can take you off in any direction. And so the idea is you jump over pits and other obstacles. You have to surge to sometimes grab onto a wall. You can only do that surge thing once, though, before you are just kind of stuck in whatever direction you're going in. And so there are you have to think through a lot of these different puzzles. The threats that you face in the game are pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
This is a game in the vein of something like Super Meat Boy, where you're gonna die, and you're gonna die a lot, and you're gonna be happy to die because you don't have a choice. I mean, you do have a choice. You can either be happy dying or just stop playing, which is what my roommate did. A decision that I never quite understood, because there's so much, I think, that Celeste has going for it. It's got this great pixel-style presentation.
That soundtrack
is amazing.
It's so good.
Do, 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 do. And it's just like great little chip tunes. It's got a great like retro throwback vibe, but it's very 2018 in its storytelling.
Oh, its story.
I don't think it dates it. We'll have to see. But the thing about Celeste, and this was the moment where it catched me. The second level of the game.
Sorry, it catched you?
It catched me.
English.
He's leaning into it. All right.
The second level in Celeste has you going through this like
Is that the hotel?
No, it's
No.
like this temple or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And you walk past a mirror and you see like your reflection, but Celeste has got like red hair and
Madeline.
she's Caucasian. Or excuse me, yeah. Celeste is the mountain. Madeline is the character that you play. Madeline is like this redhead. She's got like lighter skin. The reflection in the mirror has purple hair and has red eyes and is like just a little bit sinister. Then the reflection hops out of the mirror and starts chasing you through these ruins.
Oh my gosh.
And it's intense. You now have to go through all of these platformer sections that are tricky, and you have to do it very, very quickly, because if you don't, you will die. And so after you've died about 20 dozen times, and you make it through the end, at the end of the level, Madeline finds a payphone. And she picks up the payphone, and she calls her mom and says, "Mom, I think I'm having a panic attack." And it turns out, like, the video game is this kind of, like, long-form metaphor for dealing with anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it's great. And every character you come across has their own little things that they're dealing with. There's this hotel where there's a...
Oh, Mr. Oshiro's my favorite.
Mr. Oshiro is running this hotel, and he's like a ghost, and he's paranoid, and he puts forth all of these fronts to try to keep his guests there, and winds up causing more harm that way. There's this really charming other hiker, Theo that you run into, and you find that Theo's got his own insecurities, and you kind of have to help him cope with those.
Even though he acts like so just charming and aloof,
right.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's got his own thing going on. And so you couple the moment that really, really caught me after that little anxiety attack moment. There's a scene where you are having a panic attack while Theo is around, and Theo's like, "Here, let me talk you through this," and he talks you through the sort of mindfulness.
Imagine a feather.
Imagine this feather, and you have to like breathe. And like by doing that, it's a mindfulness technique to help you get an anxiety attack under control. Mm-hmm. And so this game I thought it was beautiful. One of the loveliest. Of all the games that I played on the Switch, I'm not kidding. Celeste might be my favorite. I might like it more than Zelda. That's a huge maybe, because Breath of the Wild was freaking near perfect. But Celeste just like gave me chills and goosebumps in a way that I don't think I've seen from a video game in I don't know how long. Loved it.
So there's this moment near the end of the game when basically Madeline comes to the realization that she needs to work with this, this depressed side of her, with Battling.
Battling is what
Battling. And just that moment is one of the ones that got to me because, mental health is something that everyone should be aware of.
Yes.
You need, because a lot of us get anxiety. A lot of us have things that we need help with, and this game portrayed it in a way that really, it got to me. It made me realize things about myself, and games don't do that. Games don't make me realize that, oh my gosh, you have such severe anxiety in these situations, and you need to get it under control. And Celeste did that for me. It's a game that literally changed my life.
Yeah, I feel like I need to play it now. Not just because one of the kids, like Madeline, pops up in Towerfall, but because someone described it to me and I forgot about it, and now that you're saying it, it brings back oh yeah, I watched them play and it was stressful, and now I get why. And it's not just because it's a game. It's not it's not stressful like Overcooked is stressful.
Man, Overcooked
very stressful.
Overcooked 2 gets an honorable mention from me, by the way. I can play Overcooked with the fiance, and we have a blast playing those games together. But the great thing about Celeste, as far as its difficulty goes, is that it's never so hard that it's frustrating. At least I never thought so. When you die, you just, less than a second later, you've respawned, you're back in the game, you get another crack at it. And so it's a game that's actually kind of encouraging in its difficulty. It's yes, this is hard. Yes, it's going to kick your butt. But you can do it. So it's the game itself is a metaphor for the thing it's trying to teach you. Right. I love that game.
I'm really impressed with a lot of video games now, and how did I say video games just there?
Video games.
Those are video games, yeah. Kids playing.
And they're very big games.
But I think that there are certain books that I like that I hope get adapted into video games and not movies. If you're not going to do Avatar: The Last Airbender to tell your story that was a book, that was a great book, and spread it out and do enough justice where you get the whole story covered, then make it into a game. Mistborn should not be a TV show or a movie. It should be a video game. It should be like Arkham City. That should be Mistborn. That's how it should be adapted into another medium.
Are you excited for the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender live action show they're making?
No!
Just wondering.
We tried live action.
I feel like we don't need it.
No, the animated version is so incredible. I don't.
And you know what? If you need that itch scratched, you have Dragon Prince, which was perfectly lovely and just fine. So.
All right, Nate.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do something different that everybody else is doing. I'm gonna pick an album that I've been really into. I'm a huge fan of Coheed and Cambria. And if you don't know who the band is, their lead singer, Claudio Sanchez, writes a comic book called The Amory Wars. And they're not necessarily the best stories. They're well written, or the art's okay, but the story's really neat. And what's neat about them is each album is a soundtrack to the comic book series. So you have series 1, so you have 12 comic books, and then when you hear the album's describing what's happening during that album, and everything. So anyways, they finished their run for their first 5 albums. Then they did a prequel album, which was a double one that was great. And then they did just one without a story. They were just songs that they were like, hey, let's do this. But now they have a new one, and it's called Vaxis Part 1, The Unheavenly Creatures. And Claudio has said that it's a 5-part story, so we're still going to have 4 more albums. Oh, wow. With it. And so anyways, the character Vaxis is these people's son, and it's eventually going to be about him. But in this album, his mother and father, one called Sister Spider and one called Creature, get put on this planet. It's a prison planet, and it's like, if you're there, you're screwed, you know. Yeah. And it's about Creature and Sister Spider and this other guy, and they plan this heist to escape the prison, and it's really intense, like really cool. The story's really neat. They always have really big box sets that you can buy that are kind of expensive. They have like lots of cool things in them. And so anyways, with this one, instead of doing a comic book right away, they had a 100-page book, the story with some pictures and stuff. And it's really cool because there's lots of twists and turns because it's a heist, and like Creature wants Sister Spider to come with him, but if he takes her with him, they'll both get caught, and then he's in trouble, so he has to go back and get her. And like it's just really cool. The storyline is really awesome. Some people complain about Claudio's voice because it is different, but I think if you listen to it for a little while, you kind of like get into the groove. Like it's like addiction after that. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't wait for another album, because you just get like so excited and into the story and all that stuff. So anyway, that was my second thing that I loved.
I don't know if I've ever listened to their music. Now I'm intrigued.
On this album's like, it starts off like a brand new story too, so
Good jumping on point.
yeah.
All right, John.
We did a whole podcast about Avengers. So I'll just briefly say, still good. I don't know. I saw Aquaman a couple weeks ago, and I cannot believe that it has made $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's made $1 billion.
It's made $1 billion.
Jason Momoa.
Make like 5.
Yeah. No, I get
Half
it.
naked Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson's also in that movie. He's cute.
But is he needed at all?
No, not at all. Not in that movie.
Was the whole introduction with Nicole Kidman needed? Was Nicole Kidman needed?
Nicole Kidman's always needed.
I was gonna say
there were parts that were genuinely cool. When I almost said Tamatoa, because like I didn't give a crap. Like about a half hour in, I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be one of these. All right, and like as soon as this big, huge crab bursts out of the like bottom of the ocean, I just leaned over to my brother-in-law and I was like, "'Cause I'm shiny." Because it's just like there's some cool action, and like I can see, I can get that. Like, all right, Aquaman like isn't just a dumb character. There's something to it, but like it was a bad movie, and I cannot believe it made $1 billion.
So why don't we talk about Avengers?
Yeah. You have to go through the darkness to get to the light, all right?
Literally don't. I haven't seen Aquaman, and I still liked Avengers.
I'm not saying that you have to have the I'm saying...
it makes the good better.
Might be time to
I'm
transition
saying,
to your point.
now that I have seen Aquaman, I appreciate the Avengers more than I did. I'm not saying it's required. Right. I'm saying, hey, don't bother with Aquaman. We don't need it. You know why? Because we got the Avengers.
There were cool things in Aquaman, though.
Yeah.
Like, I liked how they had, like, the 7 kingdoms from the 7 oceans, and each kingdom was distinct.
Sure.
And I just thought some of that...
And underdeveloped.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
But, yeah, and then, like, the very first scene in the movie, I thought they started, like, 5 minutes into it. Because all it is the dad walks out and sees Nicole Kidman, and he's like, okay, and then they come... I'm like, did we miss the title?
No, it starts right away, and
yeah,
I like that actor. We don't have to have, I don't know.
Avengers.
Got to be a better way to do the origin story. Anyway,
Yeah.
Avengers was amazing. I think that we forget how big of an accomplishment it is, because it's the like culmination. It's like the capstone on a 10-year journey that we've had since Iron Man 1. And it's incredible that every character gets a moment to shine.
And the pairings that they do are amazing.
Yeah. What master do you serve? What am I supposed to say? Jesus? Wait, you're from Earth. No, I'm from Missouri. That's Earth. You know. and just... I get mad when I see memes that show Ashes and they're like, hey, here's your favorite Marvel character in the next movie. And I'm like, you take it back. You take that right back. But a big job to do, and I think they stuck the landing. And I am, like, we had just talked about on the Superhuman Registration podcast, we had just talked about Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that they actually went for it. Thanos actually did it. He eliminated half the population of the universe. The way they built to that moment was incredible. The more I think about Thor and Stormbreaker, the better it gets. Love that movie. I don't know what else we need to say about it because we already did a whole friggin' podcast about it.
And it's so
but
good.
The difference between Infinity War and a movie that Steven's going to talk about and I'm going to gush over and throw my panties on stage about.
John, what have you said about keeping your panties to yourself?
To keep them to ourselves.
There you go.
What if I have 2 pair
that
on?
they're not for sharing. Infinity War was an event. Infinity War was like the top of the mountain. I don't know. It was just like it can't be compared to another movie we're going to talk about in a minute, which was probably the best movie to come out last year because it's just too different and they're doing different things while they both happen to be superhero movies. So
yeah,
but still, I don't know. It's the excitement that you get going into a Star Wars movie with Marvel. They hit that point when it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not so much for Ant-Man 2, but for this, yeah. And I can't wait for next year. I read a list of all the franchises that are ending next year, besides Star Wars and Avengers. As we know it, I think they're gonna kind of pick things up with Captain Marvel and go from there. But it's the end of one thing, and whatever characters live might go on, and some are going to be not really used anymore. But there's a couple other franchises that are hitting their last movie next year, but the big one's obviously Star Wars and Marvel. So
yeah, this year, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be crazy.
I'm excited.
All right, so my next thing, I'm going to talk about my favorite TV show of last year, which was Better Call Saul. So obviously Breaking Bad, one of my favorite shows of all time. It's just everything about it, from the cinematography, the writing, the acting. Oh my gosh, the acting is absolutely outstanding. Better Call Saul takes a little while to get up off the ground. Season 1 is just okay. Season 2 is, that's good. Season 3, oh my gosh. And Season 4, I would put up with the best that Breaking Bad ever was.
Wow.
This show went some places that were amazing. And, having the background that you do when you watch Breaking Bad, when you've watched Breaking Bad, definitely helps, because this season, one of the big storylines is about Gus and about building the lab.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who they hired to build the lab, he's this German guy, and he's just so likable, and you can tell that he just loves his wife. But because of what they're doing is they're building a meth lab just trying to hide it from the public.
Right.
He and his whole team aren't allowed to leave this building at all. And so you can see how it starts to get to them slowly.
Uh-huh.
And Mike Ehrmantraut, played by Jonathan Banks, which he's just a great character. Obviously, he's on Breaking Bad as well. Has anybody watched?
I
have not seen season 4. I've seen everything.
Okay.
I made a handful of episodes,
Okay.
and I was like, now it's Better Call Saul. It's all a prequel, or does it just start as a prequel and then continue on?
It's pretty much all prequel. They have one part, it starts every season with a 5 to 10 minute scene that's in black and white, and it's of Saul Goodman on the run.
Okay.
And trying to do a new life, working at a Cinnabon in a mall in Minnesota.
Which, if you watch Breaking Bad, he talks about managing a Cinnabon or something. like that.
Yeah.
So it's just funny.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's... And this season has one specific moment between Mike and this German guy that, it was my most emotional moment, and just the way that it was filmed was, it's so good. I don't want to give away anything else about that scene, but this show is amazing.
You better jump onto it.
Even if you haven't watched Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is worth watching.
Because you don't have to know one; it just adds something to the story. Knowing,
of course, Breaking Bad is also one of the greatest TV shows ever made. So watch it.
Well, yeah. I made it only a couple episodes in, and I was like,
yeah. Better Call Saul doesn't.
More easy to swallow for sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot more easy to swallow.
Yeah.
I prefer Better Call Saul.
Yeah. Better Call Saul has things though like. This season, you see Gale, and if you know who Gale is in Breaking Bad, it just breaks your heart to see it. But, this season was just outstanding, and I highly recommend it to anyone.
Awesome.
Emily.
All right. My last thing that I'll be discussing is a show that I felt conflicted about initially. There was a show that popped up in my Netflix queue called The Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this will probably be kind of interesting. I kind of like stuff like this. Kind of, sort of. Sometimes haunted house things are stupid, you know. And I watched the first episode and I was not pulled in. I watched the second episode, I was not pulled in. I don't remember even what episode it was. Like the number episode. Probably the third or fourth.
The third episode was a Theo one, and that's kind of what got me.
Same, I think.
I think it was that episode. I can't remember a specific instance, but something happened. And I ended up being a lot more sold on the show than I expected to be based on how the first two episodes panned out for me. Basically, The Haunting of Hill House tells the story of this family that moved into this house that the parents were trying to rebuild to ultimately sell, right? Mm-hmm. And weird things happen in this house, as is wont to do in a show that talks about, you know, the haunting of Hill House, a haunted house story, you know what I mean? Pretty typical. But what makes it more interesting is that each episode takes each individual member of the family and kind of tells a little bit of their story, their experiences in the house, and who they become as adults, and how what happened in the house and what's happened since then has affected them. And it ultimately culminates into them returning to said house, where certain things have happened since their initial departure from the house. It's all very interesting. It's really... I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would.
So see, I'm intrigued now that you've described it like that, but I hate horror.
It's
so scary.
It's not that bad.
It's This Is Us with ghosts.
I mean...
I've never seen an episode of This Is Us.
I definitely don't think I cried at all in...
Oh my gosh.
This was actually one of my favorite shows as well, and I originally had it on the docket to talk about, but then Emily wanted it, so I'm like, fine, you can take it, and that's why I put Mission Impossible onto my list. But the Haunting of Hill House also has just some of the best filming that I've seen in TV in a long time. Episode 6 has this...
Is that the one in the funeral home?
Yeah, it has this tracking shot for like...
That is my...
20
so good.
minutes.
So good.
That
I
is
just rewatched that scene a bunch
amazing.
of times. I'm like,
I'm always
oh, man.
impressed when they do that in movies and TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
and because...
Maisel has a couple.
And you know, they do a lot of things like every episode has ghosts in the background that you have to really pay attention to see.
And it's funny, I rewatched it again because I knew I read all these lists about like things you didn't notice in the Haunting of Hill House because I love crap like that. I want to see more, sure. And I watched it again and I'm like, man, they really are everywhere.
They are, and you don't notice it.
You don't notice it.
You don't notice it at first. And then episode 5, the bent neck lady.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
There's this part at the end of the episode where it has these quick cuts between scenes that just...
Stop it, Emily.
Oh, good. Okay, that Was it that episode? I think it was that episode. Was she in the hotel in that episode? Did we see that part? She's at the vending machine and like freaks out. That was the first part that made me jump. So it wasn't even the bent neck lady part. It was where she got scared near the vending machine. I don't know why that made me jump, but that was the first time I got scared. Anyway.
Well, and that also involves this character, Nell, who has a real psychological condition that I actually know a couple people that have it.
Oh yeah,
sleep paralysis.
Oof, oof, oof.
And
Scary stuff.
And add sleep paralysis to a ghost show, and it's woo.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I liked the most about The Haunting of Hill House, which I want to like horror, but I very rarely like horror as much as I want to. Recent memory, the only horror show that I loved was surprisingly, it was It.
I loved it.
I loved it.
I'm so excited for
Yeah.
PS for the part 2.
I'm not sure that I care about the second part. I thought the first part was beautiful on its own.
I hope it's good. Anyway.
But anyway, like, Haunting of Hill House gave me something to think about and something to talk about. My boss at work is a big horror fan, and we got to sitting around and talking about it. And I don't know. The Haunting of Hill House gave me a lot of things to think about. Like, it seems to be horror tackling the topic of death, and specifically traumatic death by suicide, and how that impacts a family. And it does it in a way that I think is really interesting and really compelling. And I don't know if the horror elements always come together like they should.
Sure.
But the fact that it gave me so much to talk about means, like, on some level, I like it a lot more than I think I tell myself I do. Because, again, there's so much there to unpack. Theo's story arc is
amazing.
Yeah.
Luke's story arc. Poor Luke.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Luke.
I said Theo. I meant Luke.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I love Luke's storyline.
Yeah.
I love Nell.
Nell is...
That whole episode in the funeral home with the tracking shot is just brilliant. The twist of the bent neck lady, which is all I'm going to say there. Mm-hmm. We've already kind of alluded to it. It's beautiful. Well done. Yeah, like, if I have my one big complaint with The Haunting of Hill House is that you have multiple characters who are sexually active, but the only one that we see in the moment, as it were, is the lesbian.
Yeah, that's weird.
Which, like, feels exploitative. I'm not saying you can't depict lesbian sex or that I want to see all the sex all the time, but it is like you make your one character that's got this supernatural ability linked to physical contact, like, and you have them explore that kind of through her sexuality. That felt particularly exploitative. But frankly, that's kind of a nitpick. I'll own that. That's a nitpick.
My only negative thing that I really have to say about it is Steven is a horrible character.
Oh no, okay, I've got two negative things to say.
I really don't like. I really don't like the character of Steven, who's another one of the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a good show.
He's not even a really strong actor. Like none of it. He was very.
And he's the character who's the skeptic.
He's like, I don't see anything in the house.
We're
I'm gonna write a book.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Stop it.
Don't pick
Luke,
Steven.
though, Luke is like made for TV Chris Hemsworth, and I can kind of get behind that.
Oh yeah, he's. Whew.
Isn't there a Luke Hemsworth? Isn't there?
There is a Luke.
He is not actually a Hemsworth, but he kind of looks like one. Yeah, all the good ways.
Okay.
Well, not all the good ways.
I
don't think we ever saw him without a shirt on.
No, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
All right, Steven, talk to us about...
Okay, so I got to read a poem for y'all.
Okay.
If I sound crazy, I'm on my own. If I'm waiting, it's on my throne. If I sound lazy, just ignore my tone, because I'm always going to answer when you call my phone, like, what's up, danger?
What, you guys haven't listened to the whole soundtrack a million times on Spotify? What's wrong with you?
Into the Spiderverse was really good, you guys.
really, really good doesn't even...
I can't, it's, oh my gosh. So, Sony, has the rights to making Spider-Man movies, and they've been trying to get this Spider-Man cinematic universe going for who knows how long. Yeah. And I was about to say it hasn't really worked, except last year it worked twice, because Venom made more money than it should have.
Yeah. I agree.
Thank you, China. And then there was Into the Spiderverse, which got dumped in December, and I don't think anybody expected it to be what it was. What it is...
There's a lot of movies in December
Yeah.
between Aquaman and Mary Poppins and The Grinch and Wreck-It Ralph still
All
in
kinds of stuff
theaters.
came out,
And then,
Into the Spiderverse tells the story of Miles Morales, who lives in New York. He sees Peter Parker, Spider-Man, swinging around. Nobody knows who he is. It's just Spider-Man. This is a superhero who has his life together. He's married to a supermodel. He's very effective at fighting crime. Miles happens to stumble across a fight between Peter Parker and the Green Goblin that ends with the Kingpin showing up and killing Peter Parker.
Oh my gosh.
Traumatized by this, Miles, who has, through a freak accident, developed spider powers of his own that he doesn't know how to control, Miles wanders into the funeral for Peter Parker, where Mary Jane is up and she's speaking and she's talking about how everyone, like, the city is counting on you. And Miles, who's standing there wearing this, like, ill-fitting store-bought Spider-Man costume that he bought from Stan Lee,
Yeah.
like, he's sitting there and he's looking up at Mary Jane and he's like, they're counting on me. And this guy leans over and is like, it's a metaphor, you know. I don't think she's actually talking specifically to you.
And that's the kind of movie that this is.
And it goes on from there. He winds up running into Peter Parker, who is not dead. Turns out this is Peter Parker from an alternate dimension. Whatever the Green Goblin and Kingpin were up to under the streets of New York wound up opening these portals to other dimensions. And because the only thing to come into contact with these portals was Peter Parker, it's pulling in alternate universe versions of Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh.
And so Peter Parker and Miles Morales team up to try to stop the Kingpin from opening this portal again because it could potentially destroy the city. And they run into Gwen Stacy, who has spider powers of her own. And then after that,
Spider-Gwen, and she's so cool.
Oh, she's so
Yeah, she's great.
cool. She's so cool.
And way better at it than
That
everybody
suddenly
else.
makes this meme that I saw make a lot more sense.
And there's more you can talk about. They run into other Spider-Man type characters. There is
Spider-Man Noir.
Spider-Man Noir, who is voiced by Nick Cage.
Spider-Ham
by
John Mulaney.
Who is an alternate universe Spider-Man archetype who is a cartoon pig. What he actually is a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig.
You see his snout, the...
His snout
Yeah,
has a Spider-Man mask on it. And then
Well, I
there's
just washed my hands. That's why they're all wet.
and then there's Penny Parker, who is an alternate universe future version of Spider-Man, who is actually a tiny schoolgirl who fights crime in her father's crime-fighting robot. She's the anime influence.
Robot
character.
Spider.
Yeah, Robot Spider.
There's
Spider.
the connection.
Yeah.
Naturally.
It's hard for me to put into words like just how good Into the Spider-Verse is. Like the minute I walked out of the theater, I'm like, is this the best Spider-Man movie? Like Spider-Man 2 was really, really good. This movie has some stiff competition when it comes to Spider-Man movies because the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies are pretty good.
And I love Homecoming.
Yeah.
Homecoming is
Love
terrific.
Homecoming.
We'll agree to disagree on that. And so, after watching Spider-Verse the second time, I'm walking out of the theater and like, is this the best superhero movie?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have a hard time saying it's not. There's almost on every level this movie excels. Visually, it's unlike any other animated film I've seen. They don't go the easy route of making something that looks like Pixar or DreamWorks. Mm-hmm. They've got their own style that has...
Can I speak about that for a minute? Because
Please.
I love animation. I think that it's the best way to tell a story, period.
I'm going to just jump in here real fast and say that it is easily the best way to tell a superhero story.
Exactly.
The best parts of all the superhero movies are the animated fight scenes.
Uh-huh. And this way, they do things that you cannot do in any other medium. Stylistically, besides just the action, they do things where they take advantage of it, where like he's seeing his thoughts in big yellow text boxes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a 3D movie, or CG movie, but there's things that they do to make it feel like it's 2D. They take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. When you look at Japanese animation, it's drawn on twos, meaning that they don't do a new picture for every there's like 24 frames a second. So like for every frame, it's not a new picture. They'll double them and they'll just do it twice. And so it's cheaper to do that. It's faster to do that. And they'll only really do one picture per frame when it has to be some intricate action, something like that. They do that. They make it look like it's kind of jumping frames like that to give it an animated look. There's 2D elements over the 3D elements to give it the style to it. There's a really cool video just showing Gwen Stacy playing drums and just like I can't, you gotta watch it to like describe it, but like the graphics that are going on with that, the way that it's animated is incredible. Really taking advantage of the medium, and because of it's using 3D like that and CG and 2D animation, we get. I think that's what makes it the best Spider-Man story. Right. Besides the fact that it's really well written. Besides the fact that it's great animation, great direction. Besides the fact that like
the voice cast is
great.
Jake Johnson as schlubby Peter Parker is so amazing.
And I am here for any movie that has voice cast including Mahershala Ali.
Yeah,
ridiculous, so good.
Yeah, so good.
When so maybe in a film critic they showed it to us 3 weeks early, and I got home and I sent all of you guys a message. I'm like, you guys gotta go see Spiderverse because it's gonna blow your minds. Awesome. So like all of us critics in our critic circle, we were all like, oh, that was so good. So anyways, they had another screening for it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take Elliot this time because I have my son, and all of the critics were back. Like, that never happens. Maybe you might see one or two that's like, oh, I had to go to the bathroom, I missed something, or thought I'd give it twice, but like, all of the critics were back, and they were just like, this is so good. And then they had a third screening that all of the critics went back to, and I took my nephew to that one, but like, what I thought was neat was, like you were saying, like, the artistic style, like, some of it looked like, the dotted print, like, you know what I'm talking about?
4-color process,
and then,
like in comic books,
and then like
newspaper.
And like even in like some parts of the movie were kind of like blurry, but that's showing like the fashion that they were for a little while in comic history, where the pictures were kind of, I don't want to say like blurred out, but there was. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
there's so much language to the visual storytelling that I just don't have.
You throw a bagel and it says bagel.
Yes! Yeah! Holy crap! The little things like that. Now, like, and Steven can speak to this, like, as far as Spider-Man lore and everything like that, like, they love Spider-Man, the people who made this movie, because how in the world else do you get a movie that has Spider-Ham in it, animated in like Tex Avery, Chuck Jones style Warner Brothers animation, and make it feel like, that belongs in this movie just as much as anything else. And it's like, we have a great like story of Miles Morales, and it doesn't feel crowded out by all these other weird, crazy characters that come around him. Or, like, you don't feel like it acknowledges, like, the story of
Oh, every time that they...
Because everyone gets their own little origin thing.
Yeah,
like, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay, let's recap.
And then it shows everyone gets their own style, too. So you see Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen has the coolest costume in comics. I don't care what you say about Superman's S. Spider-Gwen has the coolest costume. I love it. And her whole style of comics, when you look at like the backgrounds and the colors and everything like that, they put it in the movie. And so her little flashback gets that. And then... you have Spider-Man Noir, and he's like, oh, it's in the dark, and the rain.
Yeah. Played by Nicolas Cage.
Freaking Spider-Man Noir. Everywhere I go, the wind follows, and it smells like rain. He might be the best part of the movie for me. Honestly, I freaking love Nicolas Cage.
Him trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube because of the colors.
Yeah, because he's colorless.
I love the Miles Morales story. And it was an origin story, but it tricks you because it doesn't feel like, okay, here we go. Okay, great power, great responsibility. And like when it gets to the end and the message of the movie, and I don't want to ruin it for Emily who hasn't seen it, but like I've seen this movie twice, and I'm going to see it at least 2 more times because it deserves that, and I want to see it on the biggest screen I can. And I've already missed 3D was worth it. This is one of the few movies where 3D was worth it, and it added. I mean, of course it did, but it added another dimension to the whole thing. But, like, really made it worth something, seeing it IMAX 3D.
You know what else I really love about the movie is I love Kingpin.
Oh yeah.
Kingpin was great, and like he's opened this multiverse to see if he can save his wife and his son from leaving. So he's trying to like kill Peter Parker
because
they get killed. So he's trying to
run
save
away
them
from
from
him.
living.
Oh, and then they die.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's right.
so they're running away, and then like Spider-Man
because they
comes
see
in,
they see him fighting Spider-Man.
they see him kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they freak out and leave, and then get killed.
well they see him
so
fighting
he's-
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and then they die, and then he's trying to bring him back, and that's when he kills Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And we've seen
And that was Leaf Schreiber, right?
Leif Schreiber.
Yeah,
Love Leif
brilliant,
Schreiber.
brilliant
Love
casting
Leif
there.
Schreiber.
That was good.
And I love that, like, we have Leif Schreiber. It's a different version of Kingpin. He's kind of doing a James Gandolfini thing, but it still works, and it's just as valid as a Kingpin as Vincent D'Onofrio, which that's like textbook.
Daredevil
like,
season 3 is amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I should have talked about that because that came out this year, didn't it?
Yeah.
I just like consumed it so fast. It was like, huh, and now it's just part of it. But let's talk about. There's Green Goblin. There's the Prowler. There's Kingpin.
There's one that's a spoiler that we cannot mention.
Yeah, but that one I didn't know was happening, and that one was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scorpion.
Yeah, Scorpion was in it. Tombstone was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Tombstone kind of a.
I mean, he's there. He doesn't really.
he doesn't really do a
But he's
thing,
there.
which is kind of a shame because he's got such a great visual. To
Okay,
him.
Emily, don't read this, but you're out of the room right now. Or don't listen to this, but you're out of the room right now, so we're going to say, Doc Ock is in it.
No, you aren't supposed to spoil it for the people at the podcast land.
Nobody listens to this show.
So I think that we've been going on along about this movie a lot, which it is an amazing movie. But I think that we need to end with a real song from the soundtrack that Steven should have highlighted.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Spidey bells, swinging through Midtown. Oh, what fun to sling a web and take the bad guys down. Spidey bells, quipping all the time. Oh, what fun to swing around New York while fighting crime.
Seriously, if you think that song is better than Who Here Don't Start a Riot, we are fighting.
That moment, and like, I saw someone's pre-visual work on it, and...
Are you talking about What's Up Danger?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, What's
When
Up
he
Danger?
jumps off this, like, when he's falling, like, when you see
And
him
then,
going
like,
up
he's
into...
kinda sliding down,
He's
like-
falling down, but he's, like, falling, like, face first, and the way they flip the shot, and he's going, like, falling up into the sky of buildings and stuff.
That might be
was,
my,
like,
that
from
might
the
be my
pre-visualization.
favorite movie shot of the year.
It's my favorite Spider-Man movie. And I know that's saying a lot. It's the best
You
Spider-Man
know what I
movie.
also like about Miles Morales? Sorry.
No.
Oh, his uncle dies.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's when he, like, all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
realizes that he's Spider-Man. Like,
and
it's
we
like
just see
Uncle
that-
Ben
yeah.
dying. And it's
And I
like every
love
other
how it's
Spider-Man
It's his
has
own, because everyone else talks about it, but then, like, that happens and everyone's like, I get it. I've had
Yeah.
that, because they've all had their thing.
Exactly.
But, like, he still, like, steps up.
Yeah.
And he still, like, becomes the hero. And he's still, like, knowing how scary it is, knowing how in over his head he is, he still goes for it.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. I just,
Oh, so good.
I didn't get a chance to talk about this movie very much because y'all got too
Sorry.
But I think that's the point, though. Like, Into the Spiderverse is... I'm not kidding. It might be the best superhero movie. I would put that up against Infinity War, against The Dark Knight, against freaking
Superman.
The Rocketeer. Any superhero movie that I've ever seen. And I think it could put up a good fight, if not win.
The Incredibles.
Yes.
definitely...
Like, hands down. I'm not even going to hesitate. Into the Spider-Verse is a better superhero movie than The Incredibles.
If it does not win Best Animated Feature because the idiots in the Academy only watch, like, oh, Incredibles 2, that must have been the winner because it's Pixar and it's Brad Bird. Phoned in, lazy piece of crap, horrible story. What a
Wow.
waste. I am mad at that movie. And you'll never be a bigger fan of Incredibles, the original one. But that movie was
you guys ever-
insulting.
Hey, audience, I liked it.
I did too.
Brady's wrong, and he'll realize it. Into the Spider-Verse better win Best Feature.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen Adam Ruins Everything?
Yep.
Yeah.
Watch that show. He was talking about Hollywood and the actors and the movies and how
Award
basically the
shows.
Oscars are just whoever pays the Academy more money pretty much wins.
It's political and it's popular, but sometimes they can get things right.
Maybe, yeah. They can sometimes, but that ruined Hollywood for me. Adam.
All right,
Sorry. Okay.
Steven, like...
Oh, go ahead.
So, as someone who's, like, on the Sam Raimi movies...
Who's on the Sam Raimi movies?
Me.
Really? Okay.
I don't like Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
Okay.
You're wrong.
And I thought, when your whole, like... How smart is Otto Octavius?
Very.
And yet he puts a tiny little inhibitor chip. I know you have to have a movie, but like there are better ways of explaining why he goes crazy. And they tried to make it like he was insane and the arms took over, rather than, you know, it doesn't have to be Green Goblin again.
Right.
I just think that like he could have just gone mad and not had like, you know, been taken over by his own little AI or whatever. I thought that was dumb. I get the good parts of that movie, and it is really good, and like, you know, that last scene with... I love Alfred Molina.
That last scene with Alfred
Yeah.
Molina, I am not a monster.
Yeah, like,
was
wonderful.
awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Isn't that enough?
Yeah. No, because...
Then what's wrong with you? You are too demanding. And for me to say that...
There are movies...
John?
There are movies...
John!
There are movies that get it right. And the fact that we have movies that get it right and ones that just miss the mark, it tells me that... Like too many times I go into a movie and I see it and I'm like, you know what? This script needed a little rewrite. Mm-hmm. Or this scene... If I can say the dialogue before the actors on the screen do, then it's bad writing because I'm not a writer. And the fact that, like, you know, and your average moviegoer, here we go, they're going to say this and that and the other, or whatever. Like, maybe you can get the gist of where they're going, but if you can say word for word exactly what they're going to say, then it's weak writing. It needs to be a surprise, and it needs to sound like the characters are, you know, it's a combination of acting and writing where it needs to sound genuine. And
if you want good Doc Ock, the Spider-Man PS4 game has...
I've only played a bit of that, but like...
Amazing.
I was blown away with everything I saw.
Doc Ock.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say Spider-Man PS4 for my video game of the year, but you're getting something else. There's just a charming downloadable game. I think it's for all systems.
Yeah.
Called Flipping Death.
It is great.
And it's so funny. Like, it's about this girl, and she's got like a macabre sense of humor and stuff, and she gets a job at the library at first, and she's like, "You're all doomed," you know, the people walking by and stuff like that. So she gets fired, and she picks up her boyfriend Elliot, and they're going, like, the art is awesome. So they're going, and he's like, "What if you saw a ghost?" She goes, "I would go, holy crap, a ghost!" And then, like, they're all driving, then she ends up, like, getting in an accident, and this ghost comes over, and she's like, holy crap, a ghost!
The writing is really fun.
It's really fun. And anyways, but, like, what you do is you help ghosts, but you switch back and forth into life and death. And
because what happens is, so you die, and because, you know, she was dressed up like the Grim Reaper to try to, you know, scare people at her job, Death sees her and goes, "You must be the intern I've been waiting for, so I can finally take a vacation."
Yeah.
And so the Grim Reaper takes a vacation to the moon because that's the only place where people haven't died, so he can actually have some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
you do.
Like, it's so much fun. My son's 8 and he loves it, but, like, you know, we keep spoilers from each other. I'm proud of my son, but, like, he's further along in Spider-Man PS4 than I am. But anyway, yeah, Flipping Death is so much fun. Steven, you would love Flipping Death.
I haven't picked that one up yet.
Okay, well, you got to.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
What are the
pretty
graphics
funny.
like for that? I'm trying
It's very Tim Burton-esque.
Okay.
Just a second,
Fitting.
let me pull it up. So it's very much like this style.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's your character. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yep, it's fun.
So yeah, Spider-Man 4 is awesome, and I haven't gotten to the Doc Ock part yet.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Man PS4, like, because it made me feel like Spider-Man swinging around and doing like little they hear police calls and you go and do that, and just a really really great fun story so far. But yeah, I think Flipping Death is it 15 or 25?
I think it's 15.
I think it's $14.99. Yeah, so if you haven't played it, you need to pick it up because it's just way fun
and just some of the characters are so funny.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
It's great writing.
Steven, have you played the PS4 Spider-Man? I forget.
I have not.
Okay.
Aldo played it and told us about it endlessly. But
Okay.
Oh, it's
Because it's another one
It's
that,
good.
like, they get Spider-Man right, and so, yeah. I've only, like, played, like, a bit of it, so.
yeah. Even though, some things are obvious, like, oh, well, I'm working for Otto Octavius. I wonder what's going to happen there. But when you see things happen and how they happen, it makes so much sense and it's so well done. Anyway. John!
Well, we're on a podcast right now, but I wanted to talk about another podcast that's just taken over my life the last couple of months. And it's weird for me to say because of the stigma and how nerdy it was, but I think D&D is going to come back in a big way in the next couple of years.
I think it already is.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but, like, even more mainstream than it is now. Let's start over. This is all Steven's fault. Because
like so many things.
It's true! It is!
Here's why Stephen Bradford is amazing, is because when I think I'm right, I'm wrong, and when I know I'm right, maybe I'm right, but only because Stephen says so. Because he's the voice in your head that says, "Is that thing you love really good, or are you just full of crap?"
I'm like the wet blanket of your conscience.
But I mean this sincerely, in a good way, and I'm glad that you're in my life, Stephen. I mean that.
Oh.
And here's why it's your fault. Because on this podcast, this very podcast, you mentioned a show called The Adventure Zone, and I thought one night to myself, a couple weeks later, hey, I'll try out that podcast with Steven. And it sucked up my life, man. I started listening before it was actually done, and caught up to it in time to catch the wrap-up, the Adventure Zone episode at the end of the original run, and then I went back and listened to, like, the live episodes that I had skipped, that kind of thing.
I actually think you finished it before I did.
I did finish before you,
Yeah.
because you told me about it, and it sucked up my life. Now, granted, I have a job where I can listen to podcasts while I work, and it's great and fine. But then you get that itch, and you're like, oh, I need that D&D itch scratch, and that's when Brady came along and said, hey, I'm going to start a D&D podcast. Would you be able to
Because
listen
the
to it?"
same exact thing happened to me from
It's
Steven.
Steven's fault!
From Steven!
And it's wonderful. And so now, I mean, you can flip over to listen to 1D10, the show.
1D10, the show! You have to do the right voice with it.
Oh, I don't do that voice.
Oh,
You
yeah.
do that.
That's right. I do that voice.
Yeah. And so, and then, so, like, you know, we're gonna get back to recording those soon. And I had run out of Adventure Zones, and there's only so many times that you can re-listen to the original storyline. I say that, and I restarted yesterday. And I'm like, I haven't caught up on their new story arc, which is good, but it doesn't quite have the same, like, I just love that first story, and they do it so well. And it's you know, the fantasy setting I like a bit more than the modern setting. But I'm still giving the second season a chance. It's really good. But then I went into Critical Role. Critical Role is, as they say, a show where a bunch of us nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. And they're voice actors from projects you'll probably recognize. I don't know if anyone particularly that you may know, but there are 7 or 8, depending on who's there that time, voice actors who play D&D, and they get really into it, and it's kind of become, I think, the goal of every DM to emulate, you know, this particular style of play. Whether that's correct or not, I couldn't say.
Okay,
Yes.
hold up. You just talked about how they're voice actors and you're not sure. I don't know who you know. We freaking Wilfredell.
Okay, Will Friedle
I was
is like
gonna
a
say
guest
Will
star on there. Yes.
Okay, I've
And
never
there's been
actually
a lot of
seen
voice,
this show.
and Corey
Or listened to
Payton,
it.
Corey Payton's
I love
on there,
Carrie
and
Payton?
Carrie Payton, sorry, He's wonderful, and his character in season 2. I started season 1, and it was a lot to take in. Each episode is about 4 hours.
Oh gosh.
It's a live Twitch stream that they later put on YouTube, and then they later have as a podcast. Sometimes you have to watch the YouTube because of the visual jokes they do, or the amazing maps that they put out for the fight scenes. Only the fight scenes are on actual maps. Everything else is just described by Matthew Mercer, who's the DM. I don't watch anime. I was going to say I don't watch a lot of anime. I don't watch anime, but I think that if you do, you would recognize more of these voice actors' work. But the first season was a bit much for me to get into. I'll probably go back and listen to it. But the second season started this year or last year, and is still going, and it's incredible. All the characters are really well thought out. All the actors are very good. They're doing interesting things with their characters' backstories. There's interesting things that happen to them. It's a fantasy setting. They're on a continent that is at war, but they're also dealing with their own backstories, and how the war mixes in with that is interesting. The most recent arc that they've kind of finished was exploring one character's backstory, where completely on accident they become pirates for a good 3, 4, 5 episodes. I'm not sure how many. I think 5, like with a bit on either end where they're actually on land. But it's hilarious and wonderful and fun and compelling, and just, it's emotional and just really great acting jobs. And it's all just voice acting. Can't recommend it highly enough. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's intriguing. All of those things I said. Have you guys am I telling you something that you know nothing about, or have you guys actually seen it?
I've started trying the first season, but it was just off. And, one of the hard things is audio issues.
Yeah.
And, when they first started, they were having a lot of audio issues. And that made it really hard for me to get into it.
Jump in with season 2.
Okay.
And, it does start a little slow. The first arc is not particularly, compelling, but, I really think they've hit their stride, and they're going to just be off and running for, as long as the rest of the show lasts. Last season went on for 140 episodes, something like that.
Wow.
And they're on 49 now. And I'm almost completely caught up. I'm 2 episodes behind, thankfully, because I haven't... I could get Twitch because I have Amazon Prime, but I don't want to, because that would, 1, take over my Thursday night, and 2... I want to have a bit of a bubble there, a bit of room to grow.
Right.
So that I'm not stuck without a show to listen to.
I know who a bunch of these people are.
Yeah.
Gretchen Grundler.
Who's Gretchen Grundler? Which actress?
Ashley Johnson. She plays
Ashley
Gretchen
Johnson.
Grundler on
Well,
Recess.
okay. I was gonna say, yeah, she's in a TV show. She's not always on the show because she's on In Plain. Not In Plain Sight. I'm sorry.
It's
Blind Spot. It's an NBC show
Right.
with the girl who's all tattooed. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So.
I will have to give it a shot.
You should, and just start with season 2. You don't have to. It's a completely different story, completely different setting. There are references to the old series, which fine. I don't feel like I'm missing out.
I'll give you another recommendation for another one.
Oh,
Anyway, all right, which brings it back to me for our final of our top 3s to wrap things up. I remember there was, I think that this was in the March Nintendo Direct. They talked about Splatoon 2's expansion for 10 minutes. And it's great. I love Splatoon 2. But I'm like, okay, let's get on with it a little bit. They're like, and now this. And then they did a little snap. And looks like it's just Splatoon again. You're just doing another Splatoon video.
I saw this video.
Yep.
Go ahead, Brady.
And then I'm like, wait a second. No, there's no way that this could be what I think it is. And then immediately, and I was watching this while I was at work, while I was working, and, just out of the corner of my eye, and then things get dark, and one of the Inklings just looking around going, what? And then you hear this fire, and she looks around, and then you see going into her eye a reflection of the Smash Brothers logo. And I jumped out of my seat and shouted in the middle of my workplace, because it Smash Brothers has a very, very special place in my heart. It's something that's always resonated with me because of so many things that Smash Brothers does well. I try a lot of fighting games, and I don't do well with a lot of them.
Nope.
Because I'm not all about remembering all the combos and trying to get okay. Well, that was a 32 hit combo. I don't know how you did that, other than going. I don't get that sort of stuff. But Smash Brothers, I get, because you have your regular attack. You have your smash attacks by holding a direction and hitting A, and charging that up. And then you have your special attacks, which are just the same for everyone, and it's so accessible. It's so easy. But what I love about Smash Brothers, and specifically Smash Brothers Ultimate, is that this game is a love letter to gaming. Everything in it is just full of history of video games. Everything in it is just the way that Simon Belmont moves is just like the 8-bit character. Every little detail that they put into it. And so as I was watching all the trailers and everything leading up to it, of course, I was getting more and more hyped because that's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
How many total?
So there's 74 if you count each of the Pokemon trainer characters as a different character.
Which, have you played as those yet?
Yeah. I played as all of them.
Okay. I'm sorry. Stupid question.
I put in so much freaking time into this game. And then I got it and I started playing World of Light. And World of Light
That's such a cool game.
is basically, it's the single player mode, but it's taking everything that I was just talking about of being a love letter to video games and dials it up to 11.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we can't put every character in video games into this game. Yeah, I mean, you can't play as everyone. But what if we could say that this character inhabits the spirit of all of these characters? And so they use the game rules, they use the game design to make things like Charging Chuck. Well, that's just Wario only doing his side charging move. You have... Guys, this game is so good.
So, okay, while you breathe for a second, I saw the video on YouTube of them announcing it, they were streaming, which
the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, the Nintendo Direct. So these guys were acting like the Beatles were getting back together, or forgive me, Jesus was coming back. This guy was like, "It's Smash! It's Smash!" I could not believe how excited they were about this, and I've only played it once, so maybe I don't get it. But man, maybe I'm not as big of a Nintendo fan as you need to be to have this connection. But I was like, of course they're going to make another Smash Brothers. They have a new system. Of course they're going to do it. But the way that gets around it was
yeah,
it was like,
well, it was such a short amount of time from Smash for Wii U.
Right.
I think is really what it comes down to. So no one really expected it to be this early in the Switch's lifespan. So when it came up, and it also said 2018 on there.
Yeah.
That made me go.
That was the second.
Ballistic. Yeah.
That's a hilarious video if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. But every little detail in this game, the creator of the Smash Brothers series, Sakurai, he is known for being so detail-minded that it can drive people crazy, but that's how he gets so much quality in his games. I mean, you take 74 characters in a fighting game, and you make them balanced somehow. And they are balanced so well. Anyone can succeed with any character. No one's at a complete disadvantage.
Because I play Kirby, and that's never popular. I just need someone who's not going to be instantly, someone who can, get thrown off the cliff and come back and keep coming back. Because I get thrown off the side a lot, and I hate falling off edges in video games, and that's, yeah.
So as you can see from my shirt, my main right now is Cloud.
Yeah.
Because I need to play it a little bit more though and unlock more characters.
It's fun.
It's
so
really fun.
good. and all of the levels, just the way that everything looks, the cohesion, how all the mechanics work so well. Oh, I love this game.
So you're saying it's a worthy successor?
Yeah, it is. And I can't wait for the DLC. I mean, the fact that Joker from Persona 5 has been announced.
If you want to know the moment where I decided, fine, have $90 from
for the DLC packs,
it was getting on YouTube and seeing that clip with Joker dropping down and he flips the card over and it's like, what? We're gonna be in Smash? I'm like, fine. Pay you. I spent $90 to play as Joker, and he's not even out yet.
Oh, I love this game. I love this game so much. Anyway, so now we are going to do just quick shout-outs that we have not mentioned yet. I have a lot, so I'm going to go fast.
Less than 10 seconds.
Less than 10 seconds for each one.
Oh, should we time you?
No.
For each one.
Please don't.
Okay. I was like 10 seconds total. Huh?
No, 10 seconds for each one. So I'm going to start off with movies. Movies that came out this year that I love. Isle of Dogs.
He's so loud because he's so excited. Take it down half a step, Brady.
Isle of Dogs, which I'm quite frankly surprised was not on Nate's list.
I'm a little surprised
I
too.
love Wes Anderson.
Yeah. A Quiet Place. I actually loved A Quiet
Oh,
Place.
it's so good.
Walk out of it. I got sick. I had to leave.
Why?
Yeah.
Just you had to.
Anytime there's a childbirth scene in movies, it's just like, oof. I had to leave.
Boy, I got some rough news if you plan on having kids.
Yep. She'll be in that room, and I'll be right there beside her, passed out on the floor.
Good man.
Good man. Very
Good
good
man.
man.
Just going over things that we have not really mentioned yet. Solo. I actually love Solo. Incredibles 2. Shut up, John.
History will be on my side, he said defiantly.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I love Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Yes.
My boss does not stop talking about that movie.
Have you
He's like,
watched
"Have you seen
it?
No.
I even have the.
So funny.
So funny.
So
Wait till
funny.
all
I
the
haven't
stuff.
gotten out very much this year.
Michael Bolton in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I have not laughed that hard in a theater since the Lego movie, the first time I saw it. Lego movies, upon a repeat viewing, wasn't as punch to the gut funny, but Teen Titans Go and all the DC references and stuff. I just and true fans of the Teen Titans show, are mad about Teen Titans Go. And I'm like, shut up! You still get to have the other show, and there's behind end of the credits scene that hints at maybe it's coming back, maybe I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But you can have both, and it's really funny.
I have the movie poster hanging up in my room because.
Is it the one where Beast Boy's head is running away from? Or no, sorry, Cyborg's head is running away from Beast Boy, and he's a cat chasing.
Yeah, but it has Batman in a cowl, and it has all the
then I'm
characters under it.
Yeah.
And, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman are above it.
Another
gosh.
Cage voiceover.
The
Guys are goofsters.
probably my favorite moment in that movie is actually the dream, the nightmare that Robin has, where it's the beginning of Lion King, but with DC characters, and it is hilarious. Anyway,
Seconds, huh?
moving on.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to. I'm gonna say it too.
Okay.
Gonna get 10 more seconds on it.
Ralph Breaks the Internet
Haven't seen it yet.
is. It's wonderful. It's probably actually my second favorite animated film of the year. So over Incredibles 2 and under Spiderverse, it's really good.
I agree.
And Crazy Rich Asians is actually really good.
That one was good.
It's really
It's
good.
really good.
That one was good.
Constance Wu is one of my favorite actresses
I
out
do
there,
like
though.
her.
Fresh Off the Boat, she's amazing in Fresh Off the Boat. Okay, so that's movies. Now, TV shows.
First category.
Yeah,
Whew.
TV
Mama's
shows.
getting tired, and I gotta drive an hour to get home. TV shows.
Daredevil Season 3 is absolutely outstanding. I'll let John talk about that more for his 10 seconds.
No, it's fine. You got yours. Do your thing.
Trial and Error Season 2.
I love that show.
It's wonderful. Trial and Error, for people who love true crime shows like me, is wonderful. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I'm so
still,
glad
Last season was so good.
and it's still good.
Yeah.
Did you see the Hitchcock and Scully episode?
No, everyone keeps talking about it. Freaking memes ruined it for me.
Anyway, okay, moving on. American Vandal, surprisingly.
Hey, that second
I
no,
love
first
it.
season was so good. Why did poop does not make anything funny?
Yeah, but I actually liked season 2
No.
better.
It's not getting reviewed
okay,
because
yeah.
it was about poop the second season.
Okay,
That's all I'm
American
saying.
Vandal season. It's basically a fake documentary.
On what?
On
platform?
Netflix.
On Netflix.
On Netflix, where it's high school kids making this documentary.
Okay.
The first season is someone painted penises on all of the teachers' cars.
Spray painted penises
Spray
on
painted.
cars. And they think it's this guy, but then these two teenagers are like, oh, well, we don't actually think it's him because no ball hairs. Anytime this guy draws a penis on a whiteboard, there's ball hairs.
Anyway,
no
it's
ball
great. But moving
First
on.
season's good, second season, no.
I like
I'm
second
okay
season
with
more.
poop
So
humor.
okay, Legion season 2 of Legion was crazy.
I only made it like 2 episodes in.
Oh, it's absolutely
I need to
insane.
restart
Insane.
with it because I watched half of the first season. I liked it. I just anyway.
Bob's Burgers, of course, is always great. BoJack Horseman had a specific episode this season that is just BoJack by himself giving a eulogy at his mother's funeral. That is one of the best episodes of TV that I've ever seen. The Good Place, of course, continues to be amazing.
It's pretty darn phenomenal.
Oh, it's so good. And so that's it for TV. Okay.
Video games.
Games. Okay, really quickly, at the bottom of my honorable mentions is actually God of War. I didn't like it as much as most people, but at the same time, I love that they made Kratos actually a palatable character, and it has some good action in it. It has some great scenes. Donut County, which is a game where you play as a raccoon who has this app that makes a hole appear in the ground that gets bigger as you suck things into it, and it has some great writing.
Katamari Damacy!
Yep. Yeah, it's very Katamari like.
So I got that for my phone and I really like it.
Yeah.
Just got a Switch release.
Yep. Which I have not played.
I have. It's the first game again.
Yep.
Which means it's good.
I was going to say, if that's all.
Paladins. It's like Overwatch, except for I can actually play it on the Switch, which means I'll play it a lot. Beat Saber, which I mentioned earlier. Hollow Knight, which Steven mentioned
It's
earlier.
real good.
Octopath Traveler. I freaking love Octopath Traveler. It was my most hyped game. I think that some elements of the story disappoint, but I love the characters. The art is amazing. The look at this game is great, and the music is my favorite soundtrack of the year. Which in a year with Celeste says a lot. Marvel Spider-Man, great. So PS4 game. Dead Cells, amazing, absolutely amazing. It's a roguelike, and I put it above. I put it above Hollow Knight on my list, so that says something.
Wow, that does.
Which? I'm sorry, which?
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells. Okay, and I am done. John.
Oh, we're going. Then Daredevil season 3 was amazing, and it made up for the kind of season 2 with Elektra, and I didn't bother with the Defenders past a certain point or anything in I made it all the way through Luke Cage, disappointing. Iron Fist was so bad I had to stop. I didn't even bother with much of the Defenders or much of Jessica Jones season 2, but Daredevil season 3
It's my favorite. It's
then
Yeah.
the way that they told Bullseye's backstory
so good.
with Kingpin experiencing it, the way that
And Bullseye just in general is great.
Bullseye in general was great. All the scenes with him in the church and dealing with this nun and everything was just it was just really good. Towerfall continues to be amazing. Hilda, an animated show on Netflix.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Hilda.
Right?
So good.
You know what? It's a little slow, but it's so beautiful and so charming.
It's slow in the way that country life is slow,
Yeah,
quote
yeah,
unquote. Not
yeah.
slow in the sense that it's badly paced or boring.
No,
I loved Hilda.
it's intentionally it's not just that it's got problems. It's
I watched it at the same time that I was playing Celeste, and I saw many similarities.
Seems I'm amazed by the animation style and just like the color of it.
Based on a comic.
Yeah, and it seems like they've really kept to that style in a way that works across mediums because you can't always do that.
Can't always do that with comics. This one worked.
Jackbox Party Pack 5. So good. And I'm amazed that they don't just release because all I need in my life is like Quiplash on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Because Quiplash, like that's just my goal is to like always win at Quiplash. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't because you need the second round to really get the funny ones out,
Madverse City.
And then Madverse City. That's the thing about Party Pack 5 is that there are new games and new wrinkles on like existing kind of party games, but they're all new this time around and a new You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah.
Madverse City is so much fun. The best one though is Patently Stupid.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Patently Stupid has made me laugh harder than many things in my life because of how funny my sister and brother-in-law are at this game.
I suck at drawing though.
Oh
but
no,
it's still fun.
it still works because
it's all in your presentation. That's what I love about it.
My sister has the best timing. My brother-in-law has the best like showmanship for their crap that they're like. My sister will say like, "What? You can't get pasta in fast enough? Well, I present to you the hammer," and then it shows a picture of a smile with no teeth. Her whole premise is just bust your teeth out to get more pasta in. Moving on. I'm still obsessed with Binging with Babish on YouTube. The man is teaching me how to cook.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, his book is wonderful. His Basics with Babish show is good. All YouTube should be as well produced, as well put together, as well edited, with as much thought and care put into it. I love, the more I watch YouTube and get sucked in, the more I like it.
Have you seen the video where he rates other food videos on the internet?
Yes.
It's amazing.
And then I saw one where Italian chefs ripped apart his carbonara, and I was like, oh. And then I saw them make carbonara, and I was like, I get it. Because everyone makes it wrong, apparently. But these 3 Roman chefs are like, here's how you make it in Rome.
Yeah.
And I want to try it that way. But I am, I'm going to put garlic in everything I eat. And that's what their problem was with Babish. But they were like, hey, he's pretty cool, though. And I was like, you're dang right, he's cool. Also great, if you haven't seen it, is Hot Ones, a show off First We Feast.
I love that.
And they just came out with Gordon Ramsay last week.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I have not watched it yet. I've been
it's
saving
amazing.
it.
Amazing.
Because that's the other guy who I watch his videos. I've not seen any of Gordon Ramsay's TV shows except for Top Chef Jr. I refuse to watch Angry Gordon Ramsay. Delicate,
I like
nice hand-holding, one-on-one with the camera, teach you how to cook Gordon Ramsay. I make great scrambled eggs now, thanks to those YouTube videos.
There's a reason why he's as famous as he is, and it's because he's a damn good chef.
Yeah. Well, you know what I like about Kitchen Nightmares is he goes in and like he tells, because they're gross and he's kind of mean, but he's helped people with like their marital problems. At the same time, like he gets really nice.
See, I got burned out on Restaurant Impossible with that kind of show. I can't watch them anymore. And then I just read 2 of Anthony Bourdain's books, rest in peace, and I can't watch any of those shows now. Because his was like the really like harsh side of all of that, and like no tolerance for that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh no, that's tainted my view of it. Teen Titans Go to the Movies is amazing, and if you love DC. You'll like, and like there are so many jokes about that. It's just funny.
Utility.
Stanley's in it.
Oh my gosh! I just love cameos. Holy crap!
Oh my gosh, you're making a movie about me.
What?
The utility belt.
The movie.
You put things in it.
Well, I'm going to see that Batmobile movie though. Without ruining anything for Emily, the best like punch in the gut funny moment was Starfire handing over the pearl necklace. Oh, it was like, so funny. I think that's everything. Go, Nate.
Okay, so lately, a lot of things I do with my little boy. And so
Nate
now
recommends Catch in your backyard.
Yeah. Are you kidding? I'm trying to like make him not Pulp Fiction aware. Should make it
pop culture.
Pop culture aware.
Okay, good. Don't show him Pulp Fiction.
I make him watch old movies. Like the other night, we watched Jerry Lewis's The Nutty Professor, and it made me so happy that he was laughing throughout. Because I love old films. But lately, we've been working our way through my Blu-ray set of Batman 66. So I love me some Adam
fun.
West. There's one where he actually gets his cape and tries to get a bull to go off so he can save Robin. Like, anyway, they're up on train tracks or something. And anyway, and then and on top of that, we're watching Batman the Animated Series. Like,
That's so good.
Also,
Best Batman.
the 2 new seasons of Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Netflix are great.
There's 2 now?
Yeah, they have one called The Gauntlet, and it's only like six films, but like it's weird because like there's a storyline that goes with the villains and the heroes and stuff. So like they're trying to show them like the worst movies and like God, so they kind of tie in together like you can binge them.
Oh, that's
like that. That's the way they're like, oh, we're gonna make our fans binge watch all of these movies.
It's funny because Patton Oswalt wrote a book about him being obsessed with movies, and he like spent at the same time as he was getting more famous as a stand-up comic. I know we're going over 10 seconds. I'm sorry. At the same time as he was going over as a stand-up comic, he was also going to like several movies a day just to cover this list that he made of like movies you have to watch. A lot of them are like crap, but a lot of them are the classics that you have to see.
Yeah.
But it talked about how it like consumed his life. So it's interesting that he's like the villain on that show where they're playing a bunch of crap movies. Anyway.
Yeah. And then one more thing is I got the board card game Dixit. Have you guys ever played Dixit?
Dixit's amazing.
Yeah, so I got that because it says 8 and above, like ages 8 and above. So anyways, I tried playing it with my son who's 8 and my niece and nephew who are 8 and 10. And they didn't quite grasp that you're supposed to be like really subtle with. So basically, you get cards and they have weird, surreal pictures on them. And then somebody will play a card and they'll say something like outer space, and then they put their card down, face down, and then everybody has their cards and they put down their card that they feel would meet outer space. And so everybody puts their cards in, then you pull them and you look them over, and then everybody votes who they think the original player played. So they're like, okay, this one or this one. And then you get points based on getting things wrong or right, or you know, and it's really, really fun. I'm excited to get some expansions for it, but they're $30 an expansion pack. They come with 82 cards, like the thing did. But anyway, it was really fun. And then I mentioned this earlier. This game goes to 11, which basically helps 8 and older learn strategy and math at the same time.
Cool.
So that's fun, and yeah, that's what.
Is
that's
Dixit Dixit?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep. It's a great card
really
game.
fun.
All right, Steven.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep mine really quick, and just by making a bunch of controversial statements that nobody can argue with. Black Panther is better than Infinity War.
I forgot that was this year.
That was last year. Yep.
Ring a ding ding.
Won't You Be My Neighbor proves that Mr. Rogers is the hero we need, but not the one that we deserve right
I cannot
love
agree
that
enough.
movie.
That movie is
So
amazing.
Still haven't
I
seen
can't
it.
believe I
Neither
didn't
have
put it
You
on
might
my
cry.
list.
I cried.
If you like the old She-Ra cartoon better than the new one, you're wrong.
Wrong.
Netflix new She-Ra, wonderful. Noelle Stevenson, who was the creator behind Nimona, is the showrunner, and it's phenomenal. A couple of comics that came out this past year. These are kind of YA comics. The Divided Earth concludes the Nameless City trilogy, written and drawn by Faith Aaron Hicks. It's phenomenal. It's really great stuff. Especially recommended to fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you are into more slice of life middle school stuff, I would recommend Crush. The creator's name is Svetlana Kmakova, is how I would pronounce it. I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced. She writes stories.
Svetlana Kamikova.
Shmakova.
Oh, Shmakova.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay. I'd have to see
she
it
writes
written
stories that are set in
correctly.
this middle school. And the main characters in each story wind up being recurring characters in the other stories. So the first one is Awkward. It's about these 2 kids that meet and they have a really awkward first interaction and they wind up being friends. Brave is about a boy learning how to deal with being bullied. Crush is the story of a jock who learns how to admit that he likes someone. Crush was really, really good. These are cute stories. For the Switch, I started playing Dragon Ball FighterZ when I was trying to figure out what it is about Dragon Ball that I like so much. And FighterZ is actually a pretty decent game. It's very accessible for a fighting game. Not quite Smash accessible, but still really good. I had a great time with it. And
That's awesome.
if it weren't for Into the Spiderverse, Paddington 2 would have been on my list. Not a meme, not a joke. Paddington 2 was one of the best movies ever.
It was
so
really good.
And I saw Paddington 1 and I liked that. I did
Yeah.
not even care, wasn't on my radar. It was so good and just delightful, and my little girl liked it and I liked it. And Brendan Gleeson as Knuckles the chef was amazing.
Yes.
And Hugh Grant was in it and it wasn't rolling my eyes. I was like, hey, that was a good job, Hugh Grant.
Yeah,
Seriously.
it was a fun movie.
Watch Paddington 2.
Have you not watched it?
I have
Shut
not
your
watched it.
mouth. Shut your mouth and watch it.
I didn't make it through Paddington 1.
No?
Paddington 2 is... It's better.
It is better.
Paddington 2 is a perfect movie.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Emily.
Okay. All of mine but one are shows. So I will give you the show title and what streaming service it is on so you can watch it.
Oh, thank you. Bless you, Emily.
John's taking notes.
It's The End of the Effing World.
Yep.
It's on Netflix. It's really, really good.
Okay.
Sharp Objects, which was on HBO.
Ooh, that's Amy Adams, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oof.
It was really good. Real good. Castle Rock on Hulu.
Castle Rock's good.
I still haven't finished it, but so far it's good. It's not like it's the Stephen King universe, but it's not scary. You're fine.
If it could be if it's horror thriller, no. If it's just thriller suspense, okay.
It's more thriller suspense.
It's another chance for Bill Skarsgård to be creepy.
No thanks. No. The trailers for it scared me.
It's really not that bad.
No. Okay.
Maniac on Netflix. It reminded me a lot of the OA in a way. The OA is a lot better, like a million times better. But I'm probably the only person in the universe that thinks that because I'm obsessed with it. And then John Mayer released a new single this year after not having released any music in several years called New Light. Everyone should check it out.
Is it more about the guitar or more about the singing? Because I'm all about the guitar. He's a dude can play a guitar.
It's not really guitar-y at all. Just check it out.
Okay.
All right. And I do have actually one more thing that I forgot to mention.
You're pregnant.
Because it's not a movie, video game, or TV show.
Oh, I know. It's crap. What's that unicorn game that I got? Crap.
That was a good
Unstable
joke.
Unicorns?
Unstable Unicorns. It's wonderful.
Good goof, John.
Good card game. Go.
No,
it?
it's Skyward, which is a Brandon Sanderson novel where it's a young adult novel. This is one that I think that Emily would actually enjoy. It's science fiction. It takes basically the girl and her dragon trope, except for it's girl and her spaceship, and it's about humans who basically got stranded on a planet for 200 years and have had to go deep underground because they keep on being attacked by these alien ships. And so it's them trying to fight against them and actually find out why they keep on being attacked because they're not sure. There's part of their history that's lost, and it's about this girl who, during this huge battle that the humans actually won, for some reason started flying away, and so he was branded a coward. He was shot down, and so she's lived her life under this pressure of being called a coward because of her father, but wanting to prove that she can also be a pilot, and it's her going to pilot school. It's really, really good.
What was the name of that book?
Skyward.
Skyward.
I have an Audible credit.
I've been kind of reading through the Dresden Files.
Dresden Files is great. I enjoy it.
Steven, you're a fan of that? Is that right?
Dresden Files?
Yeah.
I've listened to one of the audiobooks.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was you or if I heard it on a podcast recommending Dresden Files, but
I didn't hate it.
high praise.
It gets better
High
as it goes. I will say that. It gets better as it goes. Book one is not great, but you kind of have to force your way through it.
Who's the guy who reads it?
James Marsters.
James Marsters. He's got this really disinterested tone.
He
Almost
does.
He's just cashing that check,
Yeah.
The thing is, it actually works for the character.
Yeah, it fits perfectly.
Exactly.
Which James Marsters, if you don't know, is Spike from Buffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just interesting.
Yeah, anything, it's like Jim Dale, and then everyone else is second place. And,
Stephen Fry is pretty darn good in Hitchhiker's Galaxy.
That's true.
That's,
That is
of course, Douglas Adams, the version I have is Douglas Adams reading it.
Oh.
So it's
That's really good.
Oh, that's awesome.
John, Michael Kramer, and Kate Redding.
Give me a second. Yes, they do a great job.
Yes.
Sorry, I was going through. I was like, my index was like, no, that's not who does the Orson Scott Card books. No, that's not the person. No, Anthony Bourdain read his own book. Oh, right. So all of Brandon Sanderson.
It's the people who do basically all of Sanderson. They didn't do Skyward.
They do a very good job.
But they do all of his Cosmere stuff, and they also did Wheel of Time, and they do a great job.
They do a very good job, yeah.
All right, and that will do it for our best of 2018. Whoa. It is now in the books.
Woo! We can move on.
Guys, 2018 was a dumpster fire of a year, except in terms of pop culture, it was actually kind of great.
Yeah, there was some great stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, this year was one of the most challenging. 2018 was one of the most challenging years I ever had.
That's why you need.
I accomplished so much, and so much good happened that even though the crappy stuff was really crappy, like a lot of really good things happened.
Yeah.
This is why you need Spider-Man in your life.
You need Spider-Man and
watch it. It just hasn't been priority.
You need Spider-Man and you need the Switch.
It takes me a lot. Let me preface this. It takes a lot for me to get out of my house these days.
Well, you have a house.
You're glad.
Well,
you're so glad that
you
you made it out of your house for us tonight.
You have a Peter Parker, a Miles Morales,
Peter A. Parker and Peter B. Parker.
Oh my gosh, Peter B.
I'm already confused and I love it.
Okay, seven spider people.
9.
Not nine spider people to get you out of your house.
After credits scene.
All right, and that will do it for this month's podcast. And guys, this will be monthly, okay? Monthly. We got this.
It better
Monthly
be.
from the comfort
Do
of
we,
my
Brady? Do we got this?
Maybe.
For the next month, we're gonna waste our lives to bring you more content next time.